Chapter 45-71. In the sound transmission, Shao Tianxi expressed very clearly that Bibo Tianfu, the most powerful man, Meng Lao, who many people don't know exists, is eager to enter the Tongtian Tower to obtain the heavenly Dao talisman, and he wants to fight for the second life. Regarding this old Meng, when Duan Lingtian was in Bibo Tianfu in the past, he heard people mention it. Many people thought he was dead, and some people thought he was still alive, hiding in the dark and guarding Bibo Tianfu. Now it seems that he is still alive. However, it has come to the end. At least, if the Tongtian Tower does not appear, he will not have many years to live, and he will surely die if the strongest catastrophe comes within 1,000 years. Some time ago, the Tongtian Tower appeared, and Feng Qingyang blocked the way. Although this old Meng wanted to enter the Tongtian Tower, he had no choice but to return because he was afraid of Feng Qingyang's strength. Later, when he learned that Feng Qingyang's disciple was the first Duan Lingtian who survived the taboo realm of heavenly calamity after the historical segregation, and that Duan Lingtian had a relationship with Bibo Tianfu, he asked Shao Tianxi to find Duan Lingtian, hoping that he could enter Tongtian Tower of Opportunity. Shao Tianxi had contacted Duan Lingtian at the time, but because Duan Lingtian was not in the outer realm and the Nishan realm, he had no way to send a message to contact Duan Lingtian. Instead, he found Feng Qingyang, but Feng Qingyang didn't buy it, because he wasn't sure if the other party really had a relationship with his disciple Duan Lingtian. Let's talk about it after you contact Shao Tian. This was Feng Qingyang's response to Shao Tianxi at that time. Therefore, now that Duan Lingtian passed on Shao Tianxi's message, Feng Qingyang also shook his head and smiled. The person you mentioned once came to me in the past, saying that he had an old relationship with you. Let me take it for your sake, and give him that an opportunity for an elder to enter Tongtian Tower. I was worried that he was a liar, so I ignored him and asked him to contact you. Hearing Master's words, Duan Lingtian smiled. He did not expect Shao Tianxi, the majestic master of the Golden Dragon Palace in Bibo Tianfu, to be regarded as a liar by his master. Immediately afterwards, Feng Qingyang said again, since it is indeed someone you know, you just ask him to call his elders over. Now that there are so many new entrances to the Tongtian Tower, it is impossible for us to restrict them from entering the Tongtian Tower. I didn't think about killing people, just like you said, as a person, I can't do that kind of thing. Besides, I guard the Tongtian Tower, and I don't have any opinions on them, let alone fear that they will go further and have strength comparable to mine. In my whole life, the thing I'm most afraid of is competition. I guard the Tongtian Tower, but I am venting my dissatisfaction with the way of heaven. Why do I have to rely on myself to break through the forbidden realm and the catastrophe to achieve what I am today, but they can take shortcuts? Hearing this, Duan Lingtian knew that after so many years, the master is still the same master, has not changed, and is not afraid of competition, but the backbone is also tough. I'll tell him. Duan Lingtian nodded, and sent a message to Shao Tianxi, Master, there is no need to be so polite between you and me, right? Isn't it a bit distant when you call adult? Just let that person come over directly. In addition, you should contact the two saints of Qingyun sect. Tell them that if they finish what I told them, they can also walk through the main entrance of Tongtian Tower. Duan Lingtian thought of the two saints of the Qingyun sacred sect, and wanted to stimulate them, make them work harder and work for themselves without any slack. Haha, that's not being polite. Shao Tianxi quickly responded, My lord, I yelled out willingly. When I can catch up with you, I will change my address. Thanks. After Shao Tianxi received Duan Lingshan's response, he immediately contacted the old Meng from Bibo Tianfu and told him that he could go directly to the main entrance of Tongtian Pagoda, and he had already said hello there. That's how you say hello? Meng Lao was a little surprised, but at the same time he was a little more cautious. God send boy, is this reliable? Duan Lingtian, isn't he fishing with his master? Shao Tianxi smiled wryly, Old Meng, even if they want to fish, they don't need to use you as a knife. You know, that Lord Duan Lingtian still has the status of our Golden Dragon Hall disciple. You don't have to worry about it. For Duan Lingtian, he is still very relieved, and it is absolutely impossible to fool him on this matter. Okay, I'll go there. In fact, Mr. Meng also felt that the other party didn't need to catch him like this, but just wanted to seek peace of mind, so he asked a little more, and he immediately turned, heading towards the direction of Tongtian Tower in the Central Sea area. He is no stranger there. After Tongtian Pagoda appeared last time, he passed by immediately, but seeing that the Jesuan of the upper three realms didn't get any benefits, he could only sigh helplessly and go back. The wind is light, too strong. Can't afford it. After greeting Mr. Meng, Xiao Tianxi thought for a while, and muttered to himself, now, should the Qingyun sect also close the sound transmission barrier? As soon as he thought about it, he sent a sound transmission to an old friend of the Qingyun sacred sect, an existence of the strongest fourth rank, whose strength was close to that of a semi-sage, and his status in the Qingyun sacred sect was quite high. He greeted the other party and relayed Duan Lingshan's words. Duan Lingtian? Hearing Xiao Tianxi's message, the other party gasped. He also knew about the fact that Duan Lingtian had killed 2 half-sages of the Fu family and 1 half-sage of Qingyun sect today. At the same time, he also knew that the other party made a move to overwhelm the 2 great saints of Qingyun sect. If the other party is willing, they can use their own strength to destroy Qingyun's sacred sect. Old Xiao, are you very familiar with Duan Lingtian? The other party summoned and asked. He had not contacted this old friend for many years, and he couldn't help but be surprised when he received the other party's summons many years later. Okay. Xiao Tianxi responded, and then focused on the relationship between Duan Lingtian and Bibo Tianfu before he passed through the forbidden realm of heavenly calamity. Old Xiao, your luck is invincible, to be able to have a relationship with such an existence in advance. The Qingyun sacred sect's tone was full of envy, and at the same time, thinking of something that his uncle told him today, he couldn't help asking, Old Xiao, this Ling Tian is not related to the semi-sacred forces under your Qingyun sacred sect. What's the relationship with Duan Yue, Yu's half-sage? The saint of Qingyun sect didn't know about Duan Yue's existence, but he did. Knowing that the semi-sage Han Jiang was captured and suppressed by the sect, and waiting for Duan Lingtian to come over, he knew the ins and outs of the matter, so it was not difficult for him to guess that Duan Lingtian and Duan Yue had a close relationship. Duan Lingtian once entered the Duan family, and was recognized as a younger brother by that half-sage Yi. Xiao Tianxi replied. In the past, Duan Lingtian had specifically approached him and asked him to help take care of the Duan family, so he later learned about the relationship between Duan Lingtian and the Duan family. Why are you asking this all of a sudden? Xiao Tianxi asked curiously. I see. The people on the Qingyun sacred sect side gasped, and then told Xiao Tianxi what Duan Lingtian had done in the Qingyun sacred sect area today, because the news hadn't spread, and Xiao Tianxi hadn't had time to know. Xiao Tianxi couldn't help sighing when he heard the words. It seems that he really regards Duan Yue as his god-sister. He decided to treat the Duan family more kindly in the future. Chapter 45-72. Xiao Tianxi's old friend in Qingyun sect, while chatting with Xiao Tianxi, also sent a message to his uncle. His uncle was exactly the disciple of Zhao Ani, the number 1 sage of the Qingyun sect. He contacted his master as soon as he got the content of Xiao Tianxi's message from his nephew. Xiao Tianxi from Bibo Tianfu. Zhao Ani was looking for the entrance of the Tongtian Pagoda outside, and he couldn't help being a little surprised when he suddenly received a message from his disciples. Bibo Tianfu, do you still have such a connection with Master Duan Lingtian? Bibo Tianfu, how could there be such luck? Zhao Ani was so jealous that he went crazy. However, that Lord Duan Lingtian didn't forget me and Guolin after all, and was willing to open the main entrance of Tongtian Pagoda for me and Guolin. And that Lord Feng Qingyang is actually his master? The 2 7th-level Xians that appeared after the historical break came from one of the realms of the 10,000 realms, which is already shocking enough. What made him even more unexpected was that Feng Qingyang was actually Duan Lingshan's master. This news took him by surprise. At the same time, he also learned about the relationship between Duan Lingtian and the Yi half-saint Duan Yue, as well as Duan Yuwei's origin from the message sent by his disciples. He felt more and more that the members of the Fu family, as well as Han Jiang and Tuobo Lianqing, had no eyesight, and even dared to kill such a terrifying god-sister. Guolin. Soon, Zhao Ani sent a message to Guolin, who was looking for Tuobo Lianqing, and at the same time solemnly reminded, "You don't have to worry about the Tongtian Tower. What you have to do now is to find Tuobo Lianqing as soon as possible. Are there any other clues about Tuobo Lianqing? If I need to go there, I can go there at any time." After greeting Guolin, Zhao Ani didn't intend to continue looking for the entrance of the Tongtian Tower, but he didn't go back to the Qingyun sacred sect, but walked towards the Tongtian Tower in the Central Sea area. When he arrived near Tongtian Pagoda, he happened to meet Meng Lao, the sage of Bibo Tianfu. Old Meng. After so many years, seeing this old man again, Zhao Ani couldn't help but sigh. Back then, when he was still young, this one was a big shot in Bibo Tianfu, and he had stepped into the realm of the strongest. This is a living fossil. Xiao Zhao. Old Meng, an old man in a Taoist robe, with a fairy-like appearance and a childlike face, was also surprised when he saw Zhao Ani. "Are you also going to the main entrance of Tongtian Pagoda?" "Yes." Zhao Ani nodded. "I heard from my disciples that Lord Duan Lingtian authorized me and Guolin to enter the Tongtian Tower through the main entrance of the Tongtian Tower. However, I don't plan to go in for the time being. I'm planning to come over to thank Lord Duan Lingtian, and pay a visit to Lord Feng Qingyang by the way." He already knew Duan Lingtian, but Feng Qingyang didn't know him yet. Although he had seen Feng Qingyang last time, he only dared to wait and see from a distance. Seeing that Jie Zun from the upper three realms was frightened back, he also retreated. Feng Qingyang, but like Duan Lingtian, who is above the saints in Jizuan, if he has the opportunity to get acquainted, he naturally doesn't want to miss the opportunity. In a short period of time, he has not planned to enter the Tongtian Tower, and plans to wait and see for a while. You must not be in a hurry. Last time, I heard that you still have the strength to spare. Elder Meng sighed with emotion, and then smiled wryly, "But, I'm different from you, I don't have much time. I just want to enter Tongtian Tower as soon as possible and get those 3 heavenly Dao talismans. I don't know how difficult the level in the Tongtian Tower is, but I think it's definitely not too easy. To get something, I'm afraid you have to pay some price, and you may even be injured. I want to get the heavenly Dao talisman as soon as possible, then come out to recuperate, and then step into the forbidden realm before the next 10,000 years of catastrophe comes. The realm of taboo is the 7th level of Xian. As long as he steps in smoothly, his strength will be greatly improved, and it will be easy to face the next 10,000 years of catastrophe. In the future, I can live for a long time." On the side of Tongtian Tower, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang are still there. Soon, Zhao Ani and the two came hand in hand. "You came so soon. Did someone catch you?" Seeing Zhao Ani, Duan Lingtian was a little surprised. He didn't expect this guy to come over so quickly. Did he already capture those 2 half-sages? "Master Duan Lingtian." Zhao Ani greeted him respectfully, and then said bluntly, "I have already captured Han Jiang. Guolin has gone to find Tuobo Lianqing, and it won't take long to catch him. I'm not here to enter the Tongtian Tower, but mainly to thank you for giving me the opportunity to enter the Tongtian Tower from here." Zhao Ani said. "It's okay, my master doesn't plan to stay here for a long time, at most 10 days and a half months, he will leave here." Duan Lingtian said that after 10 days and a half a month, more than half of the other 35 entrances of Tongtian Tower will definitely be found, and it will be meaningless to guard here again. Qingyun Sacred Sect Zhao Ani, I have met Master Feng Qingyang. Although he knew that both Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were younger than him, Zhao Ani still didn't dare to neglect him, and kept saying hello respectfully. Next, although he also has the opportunity to step into the 7th level of the strongest and stand shoulder to shoulder with the 2 people in front of him, he knows in his heart that with the terrifying talents of the 2 opponents, it is impossible for his future achievements to stop at the 7th level of the strongest. After all, These are the two beings who can survive the taboo realm without the talisman of heaven. Feng Qingyang survived the taboo realm of catastrophe with the cultivation base of a middle-level god, although there is an element of trickery, but which middle level can successfully pass the law without fear of 1,000 years of catastrophe before becoming a high-level god? To comprehend the Dzogchen, and comprehend the four ways of heaven and earth to the 7th level? Feng Qingyang's achievement, I am afraid that no one can repeat it, and there will be no successor. Such a character will be absolutely extraordinary in the future. Meng Han, I have seen 2 adults. Elder Meng of Bibo Tianfu also spoke, and his posture was also very low. How could he not think of what Zhao Ani could think of? Although Duan Lingtian has some connections with their Bibo Tianfu, he also knows that it is for Xiao Tian's face, and the other party doesn't need to give him face now. Old Meng, the palace master has already greeted me, you just go directly to Tongtian Tower. Duan Lingtian nodded to Meng Han, not alienated, but not enthusiastic either. After all, it was his first contact with Meng Han, and just as the other party thought, it was all for Xiao Tian's sake. Go. Feng Qingyang also saw Meng Han's eagerness to try, and said with a faint smile, I'm afraid you are the first person to enter the Tongtian Tower since the Tongtian Tower appeared. Thank you 2 adults for your success. Meng Han was very excited, and after he finished speaking, he dodged into the Tongtian Tower. Tongtian Tower has been open for a while, and today finally ushered in the first passerby. Chapter 45-73. Zhao Ani stayed for a while, chatted with Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang with a shy face, and finally took his leave and left. He made it clear to Duan Lingtian that when he goes back this time, he will cooperate with his nephew, Guolin, another saint of Qingyun's sacred sect, to find that Tuobo Liancheng. After finding out the other party, send a message to Duan Lingtian immediately. For this reason, he asked Duan Lingtian for a soul orb to facilitate communication. After Zhao Ani left, Duan Lingtian greeted Master Feng Qingyang, and left here, returning to Nishan realm. When he returned to the god-defying realm, he immediately went to the secular plane where his family and friends were housed in the past, and found his family and relatives, but many of them were no longer in the secular plane. Only his parents, his wife Li Fei, Feng Wudao and Feng Tianhua's father and daughter remained in this secular plane. Feng Wudao went out a few days ago and is not here for now. Xiao Tian, the person who announced the text of the Tao of Heaven is really you? Isn't it the same name and surname? Seeing Duan Lingshan's return, Duan Rufeng and Li Ro were surprised and curious about it. Although they vaguely felt that it should be their son, they didn't dare to confirm it 100% before confirming it, but they all agreed that if it was their son, they should be back soon. Sure enough, he came back. Congratulations, husband. Congratulations, brother Tian. The 2 daughters, Li Fei and Feng Tianwu, looked at Duan Lingtian with affection and intoxicating eyes. This is their man. With such achievements, it finally made them feel at ease. Before that, although they didn't say anything on the surface, they were unavoidably worried in their hearts. After all, the road to the strong is full of difficulties and obstacles, and what they don't know is that they are often accompanied by life and death. However, they can't help, they can only worry at home. From today onwards, you don't have to hide anymore. Duan Lingtian looked at the 2 daughters with tenderness in his eyes. Over the years, he had indeed wronged them, and he finally healed Kir smoothly. Immediately afterwards, the 4 of them asked about Kir's situation. After all, they all knew that a large part of the reason why Duan Lingtian worked so hard was to cure Kir. Kir's soul imprisonment has been lifted by Master first. After I broke through, I went to the Xia family, the land of the gods, and then sent her into the small world inside my body. Then, he sent his parents, Li Fei, and Feng Tianwu into the small world inside his body, and asked them to visit his wife, Kir, who hadn't woken up yet. Kir is in good condition now. With the blessing of the divine tree of life and the divine water of purifying the world in my body, I will definitely be able to wake up in a few years at most. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, the 4 were relieved. Kier was the first to follow Duan Lingtian. At that time, even Duan Ruffing was still missing. She got along very well with Li Ro, as close as a mother and daughter. Li Ro breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, I'll wait for this girl to wake up. Li Fei and Feng Tianwu, who had already become sisters with Kier, also breathed a sigh of relief. Duan Ruffing, Li Ro and his wife quickly urged Duan Lingtian to accompany Li Fei and Feng Tianwu. Now that Kier is fine, it's time to give Tianwu a title. Hearing the voice transmission from his parents, Duan Lingtian nodded secretly. A few days after returning, Feng Wudao came back. Uncle Feng. Duan Lingtian greeted him respectfully. Even though he is now very powerful, he did not ask for favors with this elder, not to mention that this elder is the father of the confidant Feng Tianwu. Even in the past, on his growth path, this elder also did not miss help. Xiao Tian. Seeing Duan Lingtian, Feng Wudao was also surprised. At the same time, he asked about the heavenly Tao text that appeared some time ago, and when he learned that it was indeed Duan Lingtian, he burst into laughter. Haha. Okay. I really didn't expect that you can go to that step, surpassing all the strong men in the world and the land outside the world. Only your master can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Feng Wudao laughed. He was really happy for Duan Lingtian. This is his future son-in-law. Is Ku Er all right? Facing Feng Wudao's inquiry, Duan Lingtian quickly responded, and at the same time changed the subject, and said to Feng Wudao, Uncle Feng, what my parents mean is, recently proposed marriage to you, officially giving Tianwu a title. Hearing this, Feng Wudao was stunned for a moment, and then his smile became brighter. Okay. I'll wait for them to propose marriage. Does that girl Tianwu know? If she knows, she must be very happy. Feng Tianwu is his daughter and the only relative at present. He is naturally happy from the bottom of his heart that his daughter can find a good home. Uncle Feng. Before Duan Lingtian could continue, Feng Wudao interrupted with a smile. Xiao Tian, it's time to change your mind, right? Father-in-law. Duan Lingtian changed his words with a smile, and then told Feng Wudao about his next plan. He was going to find Xiao Mubai, the master of the Nishan realm, and others, in order to control a plane of the gods. With his current strength, he doesn't even need to risk the entire small world inside his body. He only needs to separate a small half of the small world inside his body, which is enough to turn into a plane of the gods no smaller than the plane of the gods today. At that time, if you are willing to stay in the small world in my body and accompany me, then stay in it. If you want to take it outside, you can stay in the plane of the gods transformed into a small world inside my body, which is absolutely safe. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Feng Wudao's eyes lit up immediately, because it also meant that he could go to the plane of the gods, which was the place he was looking forward to very much. Duan Lingtian waited for half a month. Someone is back. It was Huaner who came back. Seeing Huaner again, Duan Lingtian was very surprised. This girl was already a superior god. Seeing her return after a long journey, it was obviously because of seeing the words of the way of heaven. Phantom. Looking at the beautiful figure that he hadn't seen for many years, he called out Brother Tian, turned into a gust of fragrant wind and threw himself into his arms. Duan Lingtian's heart trembled, and at the same time he sighed secretly. This girl, even with the layout of the god-defying beasts in the past, she has worked very hard to get to this point. As for why she worked so hard, he naturally knew. Can't help feeling distressed. You are hurt? Soon, Duan Lingtian discovered that Huaner had internal injuries, and the injuries were serious. Even the small world in her body was fragmented and crumbling. Immediately, his expression darkened, and he asked Huaner, who hurt her? Through Huaner's mouth, Duan Lingtian also knew. Some time ago, when Huaner saw the Tiandao text announced by Tiandao, she immediately thought it was him, so she wanted to come back, but she happened to be targeted by someone at that time, and she managed to escape after a big fight. The other party is a descendant of a semi-holy power, a woman, and the reason why she attacked Huaner was because she felt that Huaner was wearing a veil to play tricks, so seeing Huaner was not pleasing to the eye. Chapter 45-74. Duan Ling Tian took out the healing elixir, gave it to Huaner, healed Huaner, and let the life god tree in Jingshi Shinshui in his body take action, and quickly recovered most of the injury. For the rest, it takes time to recover. If you think about it, for a few months at most, you can restore Huaner to its heyday. During this process, Duan Ling Tian also discovered a mark of divine consciousness on Huaner's body. Obviously, someone used superb soul means to put a mark on Huaner's body. If Huaner is in a place outside the border, as long as the distance is a certain distance, the opponent can lock the approximate location of Huaner. He wiped it away. Huaner, the person who hurt you, is someone from a semi-holy force in the outer world? After treating Huaner, Duan Lingshan's eyes were full of anger. He hadn't been this angry for a long time. The damned person hurt Huaner to such a degree. If it weren't for the layout of the god-defying beasts, which had left some life-saving cards for the descendant of Huaner, Huaner would have died without a life this time. Brother Tian, don't rush to avenge me. You have just come back. First spend time with Uncle Feng, Aunt Ro, and Sister Feier and Sister Tianwu. Huaner was as sensible as before, but the more sensible he was, the more distressed Duan Ling Tian was. It's okay, I'll take you there, and I can solve this matter within a day. With his current strength, his speed is astonishing, and it is easy to cross space. It will not take long to reach the outside world, or even cross the entire outside world. Within one day, it is enough to easily reach the other side from one side of the outer worlds. The Xuanli sect is a semi-sacred sect in the Fengshan realm, attached to the saint force, Huaiwa Tianzong. Because there is not only a semi-sage in the Xuanli sect, but also a quasi-sacred, who is only one step away from the semi-sacred, so the Xuanli sect is quite valued by the Huaiwa Tianzong. At this time, in the Xuanli sect, an old woman suddenly frowned, and then muttered to herself, "Someone actually removed the imprint of my divine sense that I left on that lowly maidservant? The one who shoots is either the invincible high-ranking god, or the strongest. She is still very confident in her means. I really didn't expect that behind her, there are such missions. I need to talk to Miss about this." Although she is not an invincible high-ranking deity, she is still a rare opponent under the invincible high-ranking deity. In addition, she has mainly studied soul means for many years, so her attainments in the soul are also extremely high. Looking at the entire outside world, she doesn't think that, under the invincible high-ranking god, there is no one who has higher attainments in the soul than her. As for 10,000 realms, there may be such an existence, but it is absolutely rare. Realizing that this matter needs to be notified, she immediately went to her family's young lady, the only daughter of the deputy head of the Xuanli sect, Biyao. What? Hearing the old woman's report, Biyao, who was a little bit pretty, couldn't help frowning slightly. Behind that woman, can there be an invincible high-ranking or supreme power? Humph. So what? Do you dare to come to our Xuanli sect to seek revenge? Biyao smiled coldly, her tone full of contempt. And she also has the capital to despise the other party. Although she is only the only daughter of the deputy suzerain, her father is only the existence of the first-level Xian, but her mysterious grandfather is the existence of the fourth-level Xian, and is recognized as a quasi-half in the Xuanli sect. Saint within 10,000 years, it is expected to step into the semi-holy realm. A pair of Xians, one of them is a semi-saint, and they are even attached to the Xuanli sect, a semi-saint power. Looking at the land outside the world and the world, how many people can provoke her? It's just a lowly maidservant playing tricks. Miss Ben told her not to play tricks, take off the veil and have a look, but she still ignored Miss Ben. This lady has grown up so much. This is the first time I have met someone who dares to disobey me like this. It's a pity that she was allowed to escape. There should be a strong person behind her. After all, the means she used to escape, even you can't catch up. The invincible high-ranking can't give her that thing. Of course, it may also be the life-saving means that the invincible high-ranking behind her asked other powerful people to ask for. As the daughter of the strongest, she naturally knows that many powerful have recruited invincible high-ranking gods under their command. Thinking of this, she frowned slightly, and then relaxed. Even if the strongest person behind the invincible high ranking is strong, so what? Could it be possible that he will indirectly make an enemy of our Xuanli sect for a woman? Thinking of this, the contempt on Gui Yaole's mouth gradually turned into a sneer. Don't take it seriously at all. Whether it is Bibo Tianfu or Qingyun's sacred sect, they are all within the territory of Lei Sheng, a land outside the boundary. Duan Lingtian had only heard of Wind's Saint Realm in the past, but had never been there. After this breakthrough, he had plans to take his wife Hong Yan around, at least all over the world, but he never expected that he would come to the Wind's sacred realm in this way. Semi-holy force in the Wind's sacred realm, the Xuanli sect? In Duan Lingshan's eyes, icy flames danced, and as soon as he thought about it, the whole body seemed to emit a cold air, giving the passers-by around a feeling that winter is coming. Certainly. Huaner around her was not affected. Duan Lingtian has not lost his mind yet. So strong. The strongest? Passers-by were shocked and speculated. This is the city Huaner came to before going back, and it was outside this city that she was sniped and almost killed. The other party claimed to be the arrogance of the Xuanli sect of the semi-sacred power, who could control Huaner's life and death, and seeing that Huaner refused to talk to her, he asked his subordinates to kill her directly. Zunlaizong has an industry in this city? It's just right. Just like the last time he went to the Fu family's residence, this time Duan Lingtian did the same thing, arresting a person in charge of the Xuanli sect's industry in this city, and asked him to lead the way to the Xuanli sect. Soon, they arrived outside the Xuanli sect. The Xuanli sect is located within a stretch of mountain ranges. According to the people he arrested, the highest mountain in the middle is the main peak of the Xuanli sect. The high-level and core disciples of the Xuanli sect are all practicing on it. Snort. Duan Lingtian snorted coldly, and didn't say much nonsense. When he raised his hand, there was a palm in the air. In an instant, a gray palm print appeared on the summit of Xuanli sect master peak, like a cloud hanging from the sky, even more like a cloud that accumulates before the rainstorm. For a moment, the originally clear sky at the main peak of Xuanli sect suddenly became dark. The giant palm is in the sky, covering the sky and the sun. Boom! As Duan Lingtian thought, he pressed it. The giant palm that shrouded the void suddenly became unreal, as if the power of space was beating, folding and swaying unceasingly, like ripples. It is more like a shocking waterfall, venting down. Chapter 45-75. Everyone in the main peak of Xuanli sect was shocked. At this moment, even the weakest disciples of the Xuanli sect felt the threat of disappointment. The terrifying power shrouded in the sky made them smell like death. Boom! As soon as the commotion broke out, the palm print that covered the sky and the sun above the void roared down, and in a blink of an eye, it hit the Xuanli sect's protective array that had just risen. The Xuanli sect's protective array rose up, and the translucent resplendent mask was extremely gorgeous, with colorful streamers flickering inside and outside, as if it was indestructible. Seeing this, everyone in the Xuanli sect breathed a sigh of relief, and the sect's protective array finally stopped this terrifying force. The Zongmen sect's protective array claims to be able to block the attacks of the semi-saints for half a day. I haven't seen it before, but seeing it today, it really lives up to its reputation. Many core disciples of the Xuanli sect sighed, and at the same time felt proud of being a disciple of the Xuanli sect, and their sense of security doubled. With such terrifying power, there is a high probability that the person who comes will be a demi-saint. After making this guess, most people don't care about it anymore. It's just a half-sage, and it's not like they don't have Zunlaizong, and there is even a quasi-sage, whose strength is rare under the half-sage. Only. Soon, the smiles that had just risen on their faces froze in an instant. Just because, in their field of vision, the translucent mask raised by the guardian array only persisted for about 1 or 2 breaths, before another series of hideous and terrifying cracks appeared. The cracks spread in all directions, and in a blink of an eye, the mask was smashed like an egg with countless cracks, and then it was shattered. Boom! There was a loud noise, earth-shattering, and at the same time the Xuanli sect's protective array shattered. The aftermath of terrifying power raged and swept down, like a cataract pouring down. Boom! Rumble! In the blink of an eye, a terrifying force like dark clouds overwhelming the city swept across the main peak of Xuanli sect. Which saint are you? Why did you attack my Xuanli sect? Inside the main peak of Xuanli sect, an old and unwilling roar resounded through the heaven and earth. Immediately after seeing where the sound came from, beams of light emitted, sweeping all directions, protecting a group of people and quickly leaving the main peak. In other directions, there were also multiple figures, guarding a group of people to leave the main peak. Rumble. Rumble. A total of more than 100 people ran to the main peak, and then only heard the voices of wailing and despair coming from the main peak, but soon these voices disappeared, because the power falling from the sky like a big waterfall was about to collapse in a blink of an eye. The main peak is completely covered. After bursts of loud noises, the entire world seemed to be covered in dust. After the dust cleared, the place where the Xuanli sect master peak was originally located turned into a bottomless giant pit, like an abyss. Hiss. 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 In the surrounding areas, more than 100 people who escaped under the protection of many powerful men on the main peak came to their senses at this time, and while their faces were pale, they couldn't help but gasp. Horrible. This is the power of a saint? Call. Call. At the same time, two figures appeared above the abyss. It was Duan Lingtian and Huaner who were brought by his side. Under Huaner's signal, Duan Lingshan's indifferent eyes fell on one of the directions. There were more than 10 people standing there. One of them was a woman. Her complexion was pale at this time, and her face was full of heart. Even, she lowered her head and stared at the abyss fearfully, temporarily not noticing Duan Lingshan's gaze, nor did she notice Huaner beside Duan Lingtian. Your Excellency, I am the suzerain of Xuanli sect, Lu Fenghua. Even if you are a saint, my Xuanli sect is at least a semi-sacred sect under Huaihua Tianzong's command. Have you greeted Huaihua Tianzong by doing this? A tall, stern middle-aged man, Yukong, wearing a light blue robe, walked a few steps forward, looking at Duan Lingtian with fear, but he still dared to ask in a low voice. The meaning of what he said was undoubtedly bringing out Huaihua Tianzong to suppress the other party. Of course, he said it very tactfully, and he didn't dare to be too straightforward. After all, he still doesn't know the details of the other party, but judging from the destructive power of the other party's attack just now, he must be a saint. As the suzerain of the Xuanli sect, he knows nothing about the sect's protective formation of his own sect. If it weren't for a saint, it would be impossible to easily defeat the guardian formation, and even raise the main peak to the ground. Just now, the half-sage of their Xuanli sect told him through sound transmission that when faced with the opponent's power, he also felt powerless for a while, and he only had time to take some nearby elders and disciples away from the main peak. And a message to let him, and other powerful Xians, lead people away from the main peak. However, there are still a few weaker powerhouses who were wiped out along with the main peak. Almost when Lu Fenghuo's voice fell, there was a shock in the sky. Dark clouds gathered, and then turned into blood clouds, lightning and thunder. A pouring rain of blood fell without warning, sweeping all directions, covering a large area around. This is exactly the phenomenon of heaven and earth caused by the death of the most powerful members of the Xuanli sect. In the land outside the boundary, many things can trigger some visions of heaven and earth, and even some people who have comprehended the laws to a certain level can also trigger impressive visions of heaven and earth. If you comprehend the law to the existence of the realm of lesser perfection, and apply the law of lesser perfection, you can manifest the vision of heaven and earth that illuminates hundreds of thousands of miles. If the Dzogchen law wants to show the vision of heaven and earth, there will even be a vision of heaven and earth that illuminates millions of miles. Of course, after comprehending the law to the state of Dzogchen, it is already back to the basics. If it is not for oneself to show the vision intentionally, the vision will basically not appear, and it is extremely restrained. It's you, the woman who almost killed me? Duan Lingtian didn't respond to Xuanli sect master Lu Fenghua, and didn't even pay attention to him. If he didn't integrate into the way of swordsmanship in that blow just now, otherwise, that one blow would be enough to destroy everyone before. No one can escape. The reason why he kept his hands back was not that he was compassionate. The other party had already bullied his woman, so why should he give the other party a way out? But he didn't want the other party to die too happily. It is also because of this that the Xuanli sect master misjudged Duan Lingtian as a saint. And before Duan Lingtian spoke, Guiyaola had actually come to her senses, because the old woman behind her immediately sent a message to remind her after she recognized Huaner beside Duan Lingtian. She just looked at the woman she chased and killed some time ago, and just couldn't help frowning, when she heard the saint beside her speak. At this moment, she, who was looking at Duan Lingshan's eyes full of murderous intent, instantly changed her expression. Woman? This woman turned out to be the saint's woman? Her heart sank instantly. She knew that she had caused a catastrophe. And as Duan Lingshan's voice fell, and he noticed Duan Lingshan's eyes, all of the surviving people's eyes, including Xuanli sect master Lu Fenghua, also fell on Guiyaola. Chapter 45-76. Guiyaola, of course they know each other. The daughter of the deputy suzerain Guiyang, the second strongest of the Xuanli sect, and the great-great-great-granddaughter of the semi-sage Guolan. In Xuanli sect, Guiyaola's status is even higher than that of the suzerain's only son, the young suzerain of Xuanli sect. Because, she has a blood relationship with the quasi-half-saint. Although the Xuanli sect still has a half-sage, the relationship between the half-sage and the suzerain is not close, it is just an ordinary relationship between master and uncle. Guolan, the quasi-half-sage, was the junior of that half-sage, and was very close to that half-sage. This moment. The half-sage of Xuanli sect, Wang Tingyue, who had been silent all this time, was an old man who looked very kind, and his expression changed instantly. The young man in purple in front of him is a saint, he can be 100% sure of this. And now, according to the other party, the great-great-granddaughter of his junior brother Guolan almost killed the other party's woman? Dare to kill a saint's woman? Even if he is a half-saint, his head is not so strong. Sensing Wang Tenjiu's eyes of hating iron and steel, Guolan, who was also looking back at his great-great-granddaughter, changed his face instantly. Just now, no matter whether it was Guiyaola, the great-great-granddaughter, or his great-grandson, Guiyang, the deputy suzerain of Xuanli sect, and others, he took them away from the main peak. If he hadn't shot, these people wouldn't have been able to escape just now. Dear Saint, is there some misunderstanding? I believe, my daughter, I don't have the guts to target those around you. As Guiyaola's father, Guiyang was so scared that his face turned pale at this time. He looked at Duan Lingtian and asked with a trembling tone and soul. Misunderstand? Duan Lingtian glanced at Guiyang lightly. You are her father, the deputy lord of Xuanli sect? Is it a misunderstanding? Just ask your daughter. Hearing this, Guiyang immediately looked at his daughter, his eyes filled with deep pain and despair. He knew that his daughter would definitely not survive today. At this moment, Guiyaola also came back to her senses from a brief moment of trance. Noticing the hatred eyes sweeping around her, her face became paler. It turned out to be this woman. Even the people around the saint want to kill, why doesn't she go to heaven? It's okay to be arrogant and domineering inside the sect, but how dare you do it outside? It's okay now, have you kicked the iron plate? It's a pity that so many senior brothers were killed by her. She deserves to be cut to pieces. The surviving group of elders and disciples of the Xuanli sect also hated Guiyaola very much through voice transmission. However, they were afraid of Guiyaola's grandfather Xian, the second strongest of their Xuanli sect, quasi-half-saint Guolan, so they only dared to transmit their hatred, but did not dare to speak out. However, their gazes on Guiyaola were like knives and swords, wishing to crush each other to ashes. Guiyaola came back to her senses, and realized the hatred of the world towards her, and even her father, grandfather Xian, who she relied on as her backer, seemed to have given up on herself at this time. Her face changed suddenly, and after a change in her gaze, she knelt down facing the direction of the young man in purple and the woman in white in front of her. Dear sage, I offended the people around you because I had no eyes and no eyes. I also hope that the sage will have a lot of people and treat me like a fart. Guiyao's tone trembled, her fear reached the extreme, and she was so frightened that she almost lost control of herself. She never expected that a woman she hadn't taken seriously a while ago suddenly became someone she needed to look up to and not to be provoked. Saint's woman. Is this something she can afford? She knows very well that even if there is a saint sect Huayue Tianzong above the Xuanli sect behind her, it is impossible to have a grudge with a saint because of her. What's more, if there is a strong person present on Huayue Tianzong's side now, knowing that she has brought such a disaster to Zunlaizong, they may directly kill her, and express Huayue Tianzong's respect for this in front of the saint in front of him. Attitude towards the matter. However, when he noticed the murderous intent rising in Duan Lingshan's eyes, Guiyao also seemed to realize that the other party could not let her off. When she was in despair, she quickly turned around and kowtowed to her father and grandfather Xian. Father, grandfather Xian, save me. Help me. Behind our Xuanli sect is the Huayue Tianzong, and the Huayue Tianzong also has saints. You can save me. You can save me. At the critical moment of life and death, Guiyao seemed to have grasped the last straw, begging her father and grandfather Xian hard. At this moment, she almost lost her mind. Guiyang and Guolan's expressions completely changed when they heard Guiyao's words. Damn girl, haven't you understood the current situation? The other party obviously wants her life. She is like this now, is she trying to harm them, Xian Lizong? After knowing what Guiyao had done, facing the powerful saints not far away, whether it was Guolan or Guiyang, his biological father, they had actually given up on Guiyao. Laugh. With a sneer, a terrifying force of space suddenly appeared around Guiyang and Guolan. When Guolan's face changed drastically and Guiyang didn't notice, their bodies and souls exploded without warning. The rain of blood scattered all over the sky, splashing Guiyao's face. Huayue Tianzong? Duan Lingtian smiled coldly. Today, in front of me, Duan Lingtian, not to mention the Huayue Tianzong, even if all the saints in the wind's sacred realm join forces, they will not be able to protect you. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, the dissatisfaction with Xuanli sect semi-sage Wang Tingyue, who had just been dissatisfied because of his junior brother Guolan's killing, disappeared in an instant. When looking at Duan Lingtian again, the pair of childish eyes stared round, and subconsciously asked in a trembling voice, You are Lord Duan Lingtian? He's numb. Never thought that the strong man Guiyao provoked would be such an existence. I thought it was a saint, but I didn't expect it to be a more terrifying Buddha. Beyond the existence of saints. Following Wang Tenjio's outrageous questioning, the people present at the Xuanli sect also came back to their senses after a short period of silence, and their faces were pale with shock. Lu Fenghua, the head of the Xuanli sect, felt powerless in his heart. After knowing who the opponent was, he knew very well that even if the opponent wiped out the entire Xuanli sect, Huayue Tianzong would not be able to stand up for the Xuanli sect. Lord Duan Lingtian? He is the second strong man who surpassed the saint. Duan Lingtian? A powerhouse beyond a saint who is as famous as Feng Qingyang. Guiyao, a bitch, dares to provoke people around Lord Duan Lingtian? He also dragged down our Xuanli sect. He deserves death. Everyone in the Xuanli sect was shocked by Duan Lingshan's identity, and at the same time cursed Guiyao one after another. Now, Guiyao's two major backers are gone, and they have no worries. Boom. 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 Suddenly, Lu Fenghua, the suzerain of Xuanli sect, struck like lightning, killing the old woman beside Guiyao, and all other people of Guiyao's lineage. Guiyao was left alone. Lord Duan Lingtian, Lu Fenghua, as the head of the Xuanli sect, hereby announce that Guiyao will be expelled from the Xuanli sect. From this moment on, Guiyao will no longer be a disciple of my Xuanli sect. Because I don't know if you want to kill her yourself, my lord, so I didn't touch her. If your Lord wants me to do it for you, I will make her leave the world in the most painful way. Lu Fengguo's tone was full of hatred. A woman killed so many people in their Xuanli sect. Even if he cut him into pieces, the hatred in his heart would not be quenched. Chapter 45-77. For Duan Lingshan's identity, Lu Fenghua had no doubts. What a joke. In today's world, which saint doesn't know how terrible Duan Lingtian is? Who dares to impersonate him? Are you courting death? Moreover, Duan Lingshan's method of killing Guiyang and Guolan just now was mysterious and unpredictable. He exchanged a few words with Tingyue, the semi-sage king of Xuanli sect. Even if it was the other party, he didn't notice Duan Lingshan's attack. According to Wang Tenjiu's words, even if the saint made a move, he would not be unaware of it. It can be seen that this young man in purple is undoubtedly Duan Lingtian. Phantom. Duan Lingtian ignored Lu Fenghua, but looked at Huaner beside him. His eyes were full of tenderness. How do you want to deal with her? Before Huaner could speak, Guiyaola on the other side seemed to have regained some sense, and growled, "Why are you imprisoning me? I don't want to die." After hearing Lu Fengguo's statement in front of Duan Lingtian, Guiyaola also realized that she would definitely die today, and immediately planned to commit suicide, fearing that she would suffer all kinds of torture if she didn't die, so she might as well give herself a happy one. However, she soon discovered that there was a force covering her body, suppressing her power, imprisoning her body 9 out of 10, making it difficult for her to commit suicide. The tongue is not imprisoned and can speak, but she is still a god. Even if she bites off her tongue, it is only a minor injury, and it is impossible to die. Brother Tian, you can deal with it as you see fit. Huana responded to Duan Lingtian softly with a look of husband and wife. Good. Duan Lingtian nodded, then looked at Lu Fenghua, and said calmly, "In that case, I will leave it to you." He felt that Lu Fenghua would be more intimate to send Guiyaola a ride than him doing it himself. "I'll give you 1 month, within 1 month she must die. If she is not dead by then, I will come to Zunlaizong to look for you again." After finishing the words, he swept out his consciousness and extracted a wisp of Guiyaola's soul breath to judge whether she was really killed by Lu Fenghua behind her. Although, he couldn't see that Lu Fengguo's statement just now was a fraudulent element, but he didn't fully trust the other party either. Now, extracting a ray of Guiyaola's soul breath is enough to confirm whether Lu Fenghua will really kill Guiyaola as he said. "Lord Duan Lingtian, don't worry." When Lu Fenghua faced Duan Lingtian, he was very respectful. Halfway through the speech, he glanced at Guiyaola, who showed despair, and then continued, "I will definitely send her on the road." Lu Fenghua bit down on the word good very hard. For this person who killed so many people in their Xuanli sect, and even killed the 2 most powerful members of the Xuanli sect, he only wished to cut him into pieces. Duan Lingtian greeted Huaner and took Huaner away. This time, it is not without other gains. Although Guiyang and Guolan's rings have self-destructed, Guolan, a quasi-half-saint, still left behind a supreme godhead. Previously, Duan Lingtian killed 2 semi-sages of the Fu family, and also obtained 2 supreme godheads. As for Guiyang, and the red demon who died in his hands not long ago, because his strength was too weak and his comprehension of the law was too shallow, so that he did not condense the supreme godhead at all. The godhead of the strongest is of little use to him now. However, for his family, it is a rare treasure. He intends to divide the supreme being's godhead after he settles his family. Of course, it will not be enough for the time being, but he can find someone to borrow it. Not many people died in his hands who condensed the supreme godhead, so there are not many supreme godheads in his hands. However, it can be borrowed from other semi-saints and saints. Of course, he didn't intend to borrow from someone he didn't know well, and he owed them favors for nothing. You can borrow it from the 2 saints of the Qingyun sacred sect. I think they will not refuse. After all, I kept my hands on them earlier. Duan Lingtian secretly thought. In addition, he can also borrow it from a few half-step world venerables including Xiao Mubai in the Nishan realm, or he can borrow it from Xiao Tianxi, the master of the Golden Dragon Palace in Biyao Tianfu in the Thunder Sacred Realm outside the realm. The godhead of the strongest person is not only able to be born by half-saints, even some weaker strongest people can also be condensed. Those who comprehend the law to a certain degree of perfection can condense the supreme godhead, and if they get it, they can use the law of evolution. In the past, a large part of the reason why Duan Lingshan's space law was so fast was that he had the supreme godhead left behind after the death of the supreme being who was good at space law. I hope Lu Fenghuo won't disappoint me. Otherwise, I don't mind sending him on the road in a month. Guiyala bullied Huaner, and he didn't want him to die too happily, so he planned to use Lu Fenghuo's hand to send Guiyala on the road. Now, he has extracted a wisp of Guiyala's soul breath. As long as the other party dies, he will be able to sense it immediately. Not afraid that Lu Fenghuo would secretly let Guiyala go. What's more, when he left Guiyala's soul breath, he also left a soul imprint on Guiyala's body. As long as the other party appeared in the same world as him, or in a place outside the world, he could be the first time is aware of the imprint of the soul, so as to quickly confirm the location of the other party. Taking Huaner back to the secular plane where his family and friends are, Duan Lingtian left behind a clone of the law, waiting for the rest of his family and friends to return. His family, relatives and friends in the secular plane all entered the small world inside his body and were taken away by him. Lord Xiao. Duan Lingtian went to find Xiao Mubai and explained his purpose. Lord Duan Lingtian, you are willing to set aside part of the small world in your body as the plane of the gods in the god-defying realm, which is naturally a great thing for the god-defying realm. In this way, the protective formation of the god-defying realm will become even more unbreakable. How about? My lord, you have family members in the land of the gods, and I will ask the owner of the land of the gods to transfer everything in the land of the gods, except his sacred tree of life, to the small world in your body. How about making the small world in your body a new place of God's legacy? Of course, if you don't want to keep the name of the land of the gods, but you want to change the name of the small world in your body that you set aside to serve as the plane of the gods, that's fine. Xiao Mubai said. For Xiao Mubai's respect for him, Duan Lingtian is actually not used to it. After all, this person has helped him a lot in the past, and he accepts the other party's love. However, the other party was still unwilling to change his words, and he still couldn't let go, and he couldn't help it. There is no need to change the name, just continue to call it Land of the Gods. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said. At the same time, I also feel that Xiao Mubai has arranged a place for him, so that the Xia family behind Kier will also be moved to the small world in his body that he left behind. Chapter 45-78. Separating a part of the small world in the body as the plane of the gods in the god-defying realm will not have much impact on Duan Lingtian himself. He was even able to use this part of the small world in his body that was separated to make the small world in his body unique, teleporting back to the god-defying realm from the outside. It is impossible to divide a part of the small world in the body at ordinary times. Because, after being separated, it is like a rootless duckweed, which cannot last for too long. Unlike after becoming the plane of the gods of the Nishan realm, which is connected to the Nishan realm, it can exist stably by absorbing the power of the realm of the Nishan realm. There is a gap between each realm of the 10,000 realms, and the same goes for the land outside the realm. There is no way to send a message across borders. Duan Lingtian had to tear apart the space before returning to the god-defying realm, and it would take a while. Even if it wasn't for a long time, he couldn't come back in an instant. And once the small world in his body becomes one of the eyes of the great formation of the god-defying realm, he can come back at any time. It can also be regarded as guarding family, relatives and friends in disguise, guarding against the god realm. Even if his true self is outside, there is no need to worry too much. Come back anytime. I asked several other senior world masters to come and help. After all, it is not a small project to transfer everything in the land of the gods to the small world in your body. Xiao Mubai said. Good. Duan Lingtian nodded in response. After parting from Xiao Mubai, he went to the Xia family, the land left by the gods, and found Xia Jia, the third master of the Xia family, and Xiao Yu, the head of the Xia family, and talked about it. On the Xia family's side, even the most powerful man in the back is very supportive of moving the family to Duan Lingshan's inner world. After all, this is an existence beyond the world venerable. For the Xia family, in fact, as long as they are in the plane of the gods, the small world in anyone's body is similar, but if they can go to the small world in Duan Lingshan's body, it is naturally a great thing. Xiao Tian. Xia Jia, unlike his elder brother Xia Yu, became a little more uneasy in front of Duan Lingtian after Duan Lingtian became stronger, and he was as casual as before. For this matter, he also began to help Duan Lingtian analyze. If the news that everything on the land of the gods has migrated to the small world in your body spreads, I am afraid that people from other planes of the gods will rush to the land of the gods. After all, the plane of the gods that transcends the small world inside the saint's body is too attractive to people who don't care much about other planes of the gods. So, I suggest that even if the land of the gods is to be migrated, it is best not to reveal too much information, and it is best not to let people know that it is migrating to the small world inside your body. Xia Jia said. Before Duan Lingtian opened his mouth, Xia Yu also nodded and agreed, this matter is really not a small problem. Although there are more people in the land of the gods, it's nothing, but it's not a good thing for other gods. At that time, the planes of the gods will probably be extremely unbalanced. Hearing Xia Jia and Xia Ye's words, Duan Lingtian pondered for a while, and felt that this matter was no small matter. Once people from other planes of the gods get together and run to the land of the gods, it will have little impact on him, but it will have a great impact on other planes of the gods. First of all kinds of transactions, that is, the economy may stagnate a lot. The population loss is too serious, which is an inevitable consequence. Let me talk to World Master Xiao. Duan Lingtian contacted Xiao Mubai immediately, and relayed Xia Jia's words. When Xiao Mubai heard Xia Jia's words, his tone became a lot more dignified, and he felt that what he said made sense. It's best not to make public the small world in whose body the land of the gods was migrated to. Just talking about migrating to the Nishan realm, the small world inside the body of another supreme power will do. In this way, this matter will be resolved. Next, under the auspices and arrangements of Xiao Mubai and other semi-holy world lords, the original land of the gods began to migrate while leaving the big formation of the realm. And the small part of the small world in the body that Duan Lingtian allocated, while merging with the large formation of the anti-god realm, accepts the migration from the land of the gods at the same time. The original land of the gods, except for the place where the tree of life is located, the rest of the place was completely leveled, and everything was completely migrated to the small world in Duan Lingshan's body. Even the people inside are together. The whole process went very smoothly and did not cause much panic. After all, for everyone on the land of the gods, this doesn't have much impact on them, it's just a change of plane, and everything they have has not disappeared. In order for the land of the gods to migrate perfectly, the small world in Duan Lingshan's body is the same as the original land of the gods. There was a small episode in the middle, that is, the original owner of the gods' remains land, a powerhouse against the god realm, decided to take root in a new god's remains land after knowing that the god's remains land would be migrated to Duan Lingshan's internal small world. Zhong Lipai fulfills the wishes of the past. Back then, he had the wish to establish a sect, but before he realized it, he was arrested by Xiao Mubai like a strong man, and he was arrested to dominate a plane of gods. In half a month, half of the land left by the gods was successfully migrated. At this time, Duan Lingshan's master, Feng Qingyang, also returned from the outside world. In half a month, not only all the new entrances of the Tongtian Tower in the outer realm were found, but even the new entrances of the Tongtian Tower in the upper 3 realms and the middle 18 realms were found. At this time, it doesn't make sense for him to continue guarding the Tongtian Tower. After returning, Feng Qingyang found out about the migration of the land of the gods, and joined the helping army for a while, so that the land of the gods successfully completed the migration within the next half-month. It is naturally much more efficient for an existence above a saint to help. In less than a month, the migration to the land of the gods was completed. The branches of the godly tree of life should be planted in Xia's house. Because it is a small world separated from the body, there is no tree of life there, and the plane of the gods is in the world of the gods, so they need to rely on the power of the tree of life and the realm of the world of the gods to resonate, so as to protect the gods together. Therefore, Duan Lingtian made a branch of the divine tree of life, and planted it in the small world within the body that was separated. That is, in the new land of the gods. Wow! Crash! The branches of the godly tree of life took root in Xia's family, and in just a few days, it grew into a towering tree. After Duan Lingtian stepped into the strongest seventh stage, the divine tree of life, which was a small world in his body, also experienced many transformations and became extremely powerful. Therefore, in just a few days, it allowed its clone in the new land of the gods to grow up to the point where it was not weaker than the tree of life in the body of ordinary superpowers. Since then, the new land of the gods has been on the right track. And everyone on this land was only surprised for a few days before adapting to the unchanged surrounding environment, and even once mistakenly thought that they had never left the original land of the gods. Died? On this day, Duan Lingtian, who was discussing the 4 ways of the world with Xiao Mubai, suddenly frowned, and the ray of soul breath he had drawn in the past dissipated. That Lu Fenghua, it seems that he really hates that woman. It actually tortured her for a whole month. Guiyala, the woman who almost killed Huaner not long ago, died. Chapter 45-79. Duan Lingtian was thinking this morning that if Guiyala hadn't died in a few days, he would go to another place outside the boundary, to go to the Xuanli sect of the Wind's sacred realm for liquidation. Unexpectedly, Guiyala died at the end of the month. It just happened to be stuck in the time he gave to Xuanli sect master Lu Fenghua. Lord Duan Lingtian, listening to your words is better than my 1,000 years of penance. After Xiao Mubai communicated with Duan Lingtian for a while, he couldn't help expressing emotion, and at the same time, his gaze was particularly complicated. Once upon a time, this one needed his help and gave him treasures to assist in his cultivation. He was one of the few young arrogances he valued most in the past. He placed high hopes on the other party. He felt that the other party might be the future hope of the god-defying realm. Unexpectedly, in just a few years, the other party suddenly had a shocking achievement. As soon as he entered Xi'an, he stepped into the Xi'an 7th level and surpassed him. Even the father he regarded as an idol in the past, the former strongman of the god-defying realm, who fell under the catastrophe of 10,000 years, did not reach the current height of the other party. Lord Xiao, I will never forget the help you gave me in the past. This time I borrowed a lot of your godhead from the most powerful, and I also accept your favor. If you need help with anything in the future, just ask. For Xiao Mubai, Duan Lingtian is grateful from the bottom of his heart. After all, the other party has indeed helped him a lot in his growth. Not to mention anything else, just talking about the pool of Shin Yunquan saved him from taking many detours on the road of cultivation. Don't worry, I won't be polite to you. Xiao Mubai also shook his head and smiled when he heard the words. His eyes were rather complicated. In fact, Duan Lingtian is not the only rising star he values, but also Feng Qingyang, and Duan Lingshan's senior sister in the inner palace of Wanfa Academy. During this period of time, he often sighed in his heart. He had never felt that his vision was so poisonous. Among the people he valued, there were actually 2 existences beyond the realm. They can be called the strongest 2 in the world at present. At the moment, there is one thing that I want to trouble you and your master. Duan Lingtian and Xiao Mubai helped some people in the past, and it was considered a good relationship, but he had no direct contact with Feng Qingyang, so he needed Duan Lingshan's help. Master Xiao, feel free to speak. As long as I can, I will try my best to convince my master. Duan Lingtian said. He didn't guarantee it. After all, he didn't know what the other party wanted him and his master to do. In addition, if it was an ordinary matter, his master would not be able to refuse for his sake. It's not difficult at all, but it's a little troublesome for you, Mr. Feng Qingyang. While talking, Xiao Mubai said what he wanted to ask Duan Lingtian and his disciples to do. Instead, they asked Duan Lingtian to give 2 lessons to all the most powerful people in the Nishan realm, and talk about their insights and comprehensions in the way of swordsmanship. If it is convenient, I hope they can practice the way of swordsmanship in public. Whether it is Duan Lingtian or Feng Qingyang, their achievements in swordsmanship have reached the 7th level or higher, and they can be called the number 1 or 2 in the world. If it's convenient for you, you can also explain the other ways of the 4 ways of heaven and earth. Xiao Mubai added. The reason for such a supplement is naturally because, talking about the 4 ways of heaven and earth with Duan Lingtian just now, he found that Duan Lingtian is not only extremely accomplished in the way of swordsmanship, but also has extremely high attainments in the way of control and the way of infinity. Of course, he didn't know that the reason why Duan Lingtian was so defying the sky was because he accepted all the memories of the super-strong old man Wukong before the historical partition. You must know that during his lifetime, old man Wukong not only comprehended the law of space, law of life, and law of death to the realm of Dzogchen, he also comprehended the way of swords to the 9th level, which is the way of control and the way of infinity, and he also comprehended to the 8th level. Order. The old man Wukong in the past was a strong 9th level powerhouse. According to the memory of the old man Wukong, if he can comprehend both the way of control and the way of infinity to the 8th level, he will hopefully go further, and maybe even be able to compete with the way of heaven. Of course, speaking of standing shoulder to shoulder with the Tao of heaven means not being afraid of the Tao of heaven. For example, restart heaven and earth without fear of heaven. The Tao of heaven cannot attack people directly, but it can use rules to deal with all living beings, such as controlling the chessboard, using all living beings as pawns, aloof and invincible. That's all. Duan Lingtian originally thought that there was something embarrassing for Xiao Mubai and asked him and his master to help, but he didn't expect it to be such a small matter. I can't do anything about this, so I can promise you, World Master Xiao, now. However, on my master's side, I still want to say hello to him. Although, Duan Lingtian felt that his master would definitely not refuse this matter, after all, it was not a difficult thing, and even his master had inherited a lot of favor from the former supreme power against the God realm, Time's Sword. Nowadays, many of the most powerful people in the God-defying realm have a good relationship with Shiguang's sword back then, and even have 1 or 2 descendants of Shiguang's sword. Good. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, Xiao Mubai immediately smiled with satisfaction. The reason why he made such a request was because he hoped that the other strongest members of the God-defying realm could reach a higher level. I have done everything I can. Whether you can seize the opportunity and skyrocket in the future depends on your own talent and understanding. Xiao Mubai said silently in his heart. As the leader of the Nishan realm, Xiao Mubai naturally hoped that the Nishan realm would have more powerful people, and it was impossible to completely rely on Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. Even if it is him, the reason why he came to Duan Lingtian to talk about the 4 ways of heaven and earth this time is because he wants to go a step further, step into the 6th level of Xian, and break through to become a Jizuan. He is very close to Jizuan, and he has only missed a step in the door for many years, but it is this step in the door that has been unable to pass for a long time. However, after Duan Lingshan's guidance this time, and the fact that Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang will preach together for the most powerful people in the God-defying realm, he feels that he should be able to take a crucial step and catch up with his father in the past. Become a world respected. After separating from Duan Lingtian, Xiao Mubai was not in a hurry to inform others. Knowing that Duan Lingtian sent a message to him the next day saying that Feng Qingyang agreed to this matter, he sent a message to the other strongest people in the God-defying realm except Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, and then held a meeting of the strongest. Tell this matter to all the strongest. For a time, all the Xians were ecstatic. Boundary Master, awesome. This time, you have done a great favor for the big guy. Haha. Thank you, World Master. I am not far from the 4th level of Xian. This time, after listening to Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, should be able to go 1 step further. At this moment, among the Xians present, even a few who were reluctant to come to the meeting, they were all glad that they had come, or they might have missed it. Chapter 4580. A few days later, at Xiao Mubai's request, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang gave a public lecture to the most powerful people in the god-defying realm. The place of preaching is in the new land of the gods. Certainly. The new land of the gods is about the small world in Duan Lingshan's body. Few people know about it. Among the most powerful people against the god realm, there are only Xiao Mubai and other semi-holy world masters, and the most powerful person from the Xia family. Or, the owner of the land of the old gods knows. The rest of the Xians don't know about it. And the preaching location was arranged in the land left by the gods, and these powerhouses only thought it was because the Xia family was in the land left by the gods. They all know that the daughter of the Xia family, Xia Ningxue, is Duan Lingshan's wife. Everyone, it's really early. Now, there is still an hour before the sermon begins. You are coming too early, right? An old man with a slightly fat body smiled and greeted a few acquaintances who had gathered together to chat. He was amazed at the early arrival of the few people. He originally thought that he had come early enough. Good guy, the others came earlier than him. Master Duan Lingtian and Master Feng Qingyang are preaching, can you come earlier? After this time, I don't know if there will be another chance in the future. I came 2 hours ago. A middle-aged man laughed. TSK. Isn't that the most powerful member of the Yun family in the land of the gods? I remember that the young master of the Yun family, Yun Qinyan, had a very unpleasant quarrel with Duan Lingtian. A young man looked at the old man standing alone not far away, raised his eyebrows slightly, and was very surprised. He didn't expect the other party to have the courage to come. The most powerful member of the Yun family is the only contemporary member of the Yun family, and he is also the ancestor of the Yun family. In the past, the head of the Yun family, Yun Qinjian's father, wanted him to take action and plunder Duan Lingshan's Shenyangquan, but because he knew that Shenyangquan was given by the world lord Xiao Mubai, he didn't have the guts to fight for it, and he didn't even dare to fight for it. He easily offended Duan Lingtian, so he ignored the head of the Yun family. That little really hurt me a lot. Standing there, the patriarch of the Yun family could easily feel the estrangement from the group of powerful people around him. He was even isolated many years ago. When Duan Lingshan's master, Feng Qingyang, became a historical barrier, and the first, extreme 7th-level powerhouse, above Jizan's heavenly words appeared, a group of superpowers from the Nishan realm, after knowing him after the conflict between the Yun family and Duan Lingtian in the past, they distanced themselves from him one after another. Some old friends from the past have also begun to stop interacting with him. They are all worried that Feng Qingyang will help Duan Lingtian in the future, liquidate the Yun family, liquidate him, and Qiyu will suffer. At that time, he had actually thought about whether it was time to leave the god-defying realm and go somewhere outside the realm. However, in the end he still had no intention of leaving. He couldn't abandon the Yun family. Even when he took over as the head of the Yun family many years ago, he promised his grandfather that he would protect the Yun family well throughout his life, and that he would live and die with the Yun family. So, he didn't leave. Moreover, he is not guilty about what happened to Yun Qinyan back then, because he did not listen to the one-sided words of Yun Qinjian's father, who is also the current patriarch of the Yun family, and did not do anything that was unfavorable to Duan Lingtian. Even Yun Qinyan was expelled from the Yun family by him. I really didn't expect that not only Duan Lingshan's master took that step, but he also took that step. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. At the same time, he hated Yun Qinyan more and more. It's nothing, what is he doing to provoke the daughter of the Xia family? Isn't this bringing trouble to the Yun family? At this time, whispers from the most powerful came to his ears one after another. This Yun Gufeng, this time it really has become a solitary peak. If Master Duan Lingtian wants to settle with him, he will definitely die, and the Yun family will not escape. Yun Gufeng is actually a nice person. I helped him once back then, and he always took it to heart, and he helped me a lot later. But, it's a pity that the younger generation of the Yun family didn't live up to their expectations and offended Lord Duan Lingtian. In order to avoid getting hurt by Qiyu, you can only stay away from him. Understood. Now, who dares to get close to him easily? About half an hour later, Xiao Mubai and several other semi-saint powerhouses from the Nishan realm also came from a distance. Mubai, thanks to you this time, we old fellows can also enjoy the glory and listen to the lectures of the two adults. Yes, Mubai boy, I really want to thank you for this matter. If you hadn't spoken up, those two adults might not be willing to preach for us. Several semi-holy powerhouses looked at Xiao Mubai, and their words were full of gratitude. They are much older than Xiao Mubai, and even in the last 10,000 years calamity, they were more or less injured. If there are only a few more steps and you can't step into the boundary venerable realm, even if you survive the next 10,000 years tribulation, you will definitely die the next time. This time, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang openly lectured for the most powerful people in the God-defying realm, which can be said to have given them the hope of a breakthrough. Although it is not 100% able to break through this lesson, it is definitely much better than crossing the river by feeling the stones by themselves. Seniors, you don't have to be polite. This is what I should do. I hope that the seniors can gain something this time, so that we can produce a few more powerful world venerables from the God-defying realm. Xiao Mubai said repeatedly. Soon, a few people came to the place agreed by Xiao Mubai and Duan Lingtian to start the lecture, in a vast valley behind the continuous mountains behind the Xia family residence. In the valley, the green shade is lush, the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant, just like a paradise. As soon as they arrived at the scene, a group of powerful people against the god realm in the valley immediately saluted them respectfully. I have seen World Lord Xiao, and several world lords. I have seen a few world masters. Xiao Mubai and the others are the strongest existences in Nishan realm except for Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. They are all semi-saints, and they are respected both in the past and now. Haha. You guys are really early. An old man with a white beard beside Xiao Mubai laughed and said, his words were very casual, without any airs. Now, he can't stand the airs anymore. In the past, he was regarded as the sealing powerhouse of the God-defying realm, but now, the new sealing powerhouse of the God-defying realm is enough to crush him to death with one finger. Another half hour passed. Two figures came hand in hand. It was Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. I have met Lord Duan Lingtian. I've seen Mr. Feng Qingyang. Headed by Xiao Mubai and several other world lords, a group of the most powerful people in the anti-god world respectfully saluted Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. And after everyone saluted, a figure rushed towards Duan Lingtian without any warning, at an extremely fast speed. Yin Gufeng, what do you want to do? Xiao Mubai flickered, blocked the other party's way, and stared at the other party with a gloomy expression. Chapter 45-81. What's more, at this moment, Xiao Mubai stared at Yun Gufeng in the depths of his gaze, with a faint killing intent beating. Today is the day when Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang start their lectures, and for the most powerful people in the God-defying realm present, it is an opportunity that can only be met but not sought after. He does not allow any accidents to happen. Xiao. Yun Gufeng paused, looked at Xiao Mubai who was blocking the way, with a wry smile on his face. Just as he opened his mouth, he was interrupted by shouts of shouts. Yun Gufeng, what do you want to do? If you don't want to listen to the sermons of the two adults, get out. Yun Gufeng, if you dare to offend the two adults, you should take the Yun family out of the God-defying realm. You and your family are not welcome in the God-defying realm. Yin Gufeng, Master Duan Lingtian hasn't settled with you yet, but you jumped out first. You are not a coward. Although Yin Gufeng's strength is not at the bottom among the most powerful people in the Nishan realm, it is only in the middle and lower reaches, and there are many people in the Nishan realm who can handle him. Now, except for the strongest people who had some friendship with Yin Gufeng in the past, all the strongest people in the God-defying realm whose strength is not weaker than Yin Gufeng have all opened their mouths to scold Yin Gufeng. What's more, one after another divine consciousness shrouded Yun Gufeng's body in an extremely unkind way, as if he dared to act recklessly again, a group of people around would attack and kill him together. Yun Gufeng, you'd better give us an explanation, otherwise the Nishan realm won't tolerate you and your family. Next to Xiao Mubai was an old man who looked like a semi-sage, staring at Yun Gufeng with indifferent eyes and said in a cold tone. As one of the world masters of the Nishan realm, he really wants Yun Gufeng to get out, because Yun Gufeng and the Yun family behind him will never be able to return to the Nishan realm in the future. Yun Gufeng was naturally aware of this point. So, upon hearing the old man's words, Yun Gufeng suddenly smiled wryly and helplessly, and at the same time looked around and said, "Everyone, you all misunderstood. I have no malice towards Lord Duan Lingtian. Now, I am about to step forward and apologize to Lord Duan Lingtian on behalf of the unworthy descendants of my Yun family who were expelled from the family in the past." After the words fell, he looked at Duan Lingtian, bowed respectfully and said, "Master Duan Lingtian, Yun Qingyan was expelled from the Yun family by me in the past, and you must have heard about it. After the relocation of the land of the gods this time, I also made another decision to deprive Yun Qingyan's father of Yun Tingfeng as the head of the family. Now Yun Tingfeng is no longer the head of the Yun family. As the saying goes, it is the fault of the son not teaching his father. Yun Qingyan ran away, but his father was still there, and I imprisoned him in the Yun family. I'm going to hand it over to Lord Duan Lingtian for your disposal. Master Duan Lingtian, if you say a word, I will send him on his way back to Yun's house today." In Yun Gufeng's words, the tone was very sincere, full of desire to survive. From the very beginning, Duan Lingtian didn't care about Yun Gufeng's approaching him, because he had already seen that this person was just an extraordinary powerhouse. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be the most powerful member of the Yun family in the land left by the gods. Now, upon hearing what the other party said, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but secretly sigh. It really is a world where the strong are respected. In the past, Yun Qingyan, who had acted aloof in front of him, was feared by the ancestor of the Yun family and expelled from the family because he got Shen Yunquan to have a relationship with Xiao Mubai. Now that he has stepped into the 7th level of the strongest, and has the strength to surpass Jiazun, this ancestor of the Yun family is lucky to have removed Yun Tingfeng, the head of the Yun family. He also heard about some things about the Yun family from his third uncle Xia Jia later, so he knew some things. It was also because of this that even if he had the current strength and returned to the God against God realm, he did not intend to target the Yun family too much, nor did he deliberately target the Yun family. Otherwise, with his current strength, destroying the Yun family would be nothing more than a matter of flipping hands. Moreover, even if he did this, he can be sure that no one in the entire God-defying realm will have any objections to it. Just watch and deal with it. Duan Lingtian glanced at Yun Gufeng lightly, and said, "Only have one request. There are people who have done something against me in the past, you must deal with me. The rest, including you, since they haven't thought badly about me, I won't care about it." Hearing what Duan Lingtian said, Yun Gufeng was immediately surprised, and responded repeatedly, "Master Duan Lingtian, don't worry, I will definitely investigate the matter of that year after I return to Yun's house after listening to the class today. I will give Lord Duan Lingtian a satisfactory explanation." Duan Lingshan's easy-to-talk surprised Yun Gufeng, and even this guy didn't seem to let him go, and didn't let him attend the class, but if I find that Yun Qingyan in the future, he will definitely die. Duan Lingtian continued. Upon hearing this, Yun Gufeng said with a ruthless face, "That little bastard, if I can find him in the future, I will definitely let him die without a place to bury him. He really hates Yun Qingyan. Almost killed the entire Yun family. He has already decided that after returning from the class this time, he must investigate Yun Qingyan's father, Yun Tingfeng, to see what he secretly did against Duan Lingtian, and who else from the Yun family was involved." He knew that the crisis originating from Duan Lingtian hadn't completely disappeared yet. Only if he handles this matter well, Duan Lingtian may completely let him go and let the Yun family go. Lord Duan Lingtian really has a lot of adults. If this Yun Xinfeng and the Yun family behind him dare to act like monsters in the future, I will definitely not let him and the Yun family go. Soon, one of the most powerful people in the god-defying realm began to flatter Duan Lingtian. At the same time, he also expressed his willingness to supervise the Yun family together. As soon as he finished speaking, another group of Xians followed suit, saying that they would also help Duan Lingtian supervise the Yun family. Brother Yun, congratulations on getting through this calamity. I was estranged from you before, and I really can't offend Lord Duan Lingtian, so I hope Brother Yun will forgive me. Seeing that Duan Lingtian didn't intend to argue with Yun Gufeng, an extremely strong person who had a good relationship with Yun Gufeng in the past, immediately communicated with Yun Gufeng via voice transmission. However, Brother Yun, you must handle this matter that Lord Duan Lingtian asked you to do properly, and you must not be soft-hearted just because the person who wants to do it is your descendant. After a while, a few of Yun Gufeng's old friends congratulated Yun Gufeng through sound transmission, and at the same time, they also said similar words to admonish Yun Gufeng. The episode about Yun Gufeng ended like this. Next, Feng Qingyang began to give lectures, discussing and evolving his due of the sword for the most powerful people in the anti-god world present. In fact, Feng Qingyang's current kendo has transformed into the time kendo. However, because none of the most powerful people in the god-defying realm is good at the law of time, he mainly talked about his core swordsmanship. Kendo before time kendo. Even so, the audience was still mesmerized and more or less enlightened. Chapter 4582 Battle Master Ling Tian. Not to mention the contemporary Nishan realm, no one would dare to say that his attainments in the Tao of Sword surpassed Feng Qingyang even if he looked at the 10,000 realms, or even the places outside the realm. Even Duan Lingtian, who has stepped into the 7th level of swordsmanship, is not necessarily stronger than the swordsmanship mastered by his master Feng Qingyang. Master, the way of the sword. Duan Lingtian was also listening carefully to his master talking about the way of swordsmanship, and soon discovered that there were also many things that could inspire him. He and his master's swordsmanship came from the same source. As for later, his swordsmanship developed in the direction of the law of space, and combined with the memory of the old man Wukong, he has already walked out of his own way. In the past, his master naturally kept no secrets from him. However, some of the mysteries of swordsmanship told by his master now are some insights from his master's back, which are also of great help to him, and he is fascinated by listening to it. For other people, even if they are not good at the way of swords, as long as they are good at the way of weapons, they will be greatly inspired. Even if he is not good at the way of weapons, he still feels that he is expected to embark on the road of swordsmanship. Originally, a group of powerful people from the Nishan realm only thought that no matter whether it was Duan Lingtian or Feng Qingyang, even if they were giving lectures together, they could deal with them casually in just one day. What they didn't expect was that it took 3 days and 3 nights just to preach the sermon lightly, and it stopped after 3 days and 3 nights. Shao Tian. At this time, Feng Qingyang looked at Duan Lingtian again, obviously asking Duan Lingtian to continue preaching. At the same time, a group of the most powerful people in the god-defying realm also came back to their senses. Then, under the leadership of several Nishan realm masters including Xiao Mubai, they all bowed to Feng Qingyang to thank you, Master Feng Qingyang, for preaching to me. They are all sincerely thanking them now, and they can all see that during these 3 days and 3 nights, Feng Qingyang did not perfuse them at all, and he preached earnestly from beginning to end. My kendo, except for the part of the law of time, has basically simplified some key points for you, and I hope to give you some help in the future. Feng Qingyang smiled slightly and said, Next, all of you will join me and welcome my disciple to give us a sermon. To be honest, this disciple of mine has long been better than Blue. His attainments in the way of swordsmanship are no less than mine. Even in the way of infinity and the way of control, he has also put in a lot of effort, and his attainments are not shallow. Some time ago, Feng Qingyang was with Duan Lingtian most of the time, and even secretly discussed with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian fought him to a draw with just the way of the sword. But when Duan Lingtian uses the way of control, he is no longer an opponent. At that moment, he realized that his disciple also had very high attainments in the way of control and the way of infinity, which can even be said to shock him. Master is too flattering and killing me. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly and shook his head, then looked around and said, the source of my swordsmanship lies in my master. Most of our philosophies in Kendo agree. Next, I will talk about my other insights on the way of the sword. After the words fell, Duan Lingtian spent a day and a night sharing the Kendo part he had comprehended with everyone. During this period, he sometimes took action to evolve the way of the sword. Everyone was also mesmerized. Even if it was Feng Qingyang, he still listened to it with fascination, because he also got a lot of inspiration from it. On the second day, Duan Lingtian began to talk about the way of control. Perhaps because of the influence of Master Feng Qingyang Mingzhu, Duan Lingtian also spoke very seriously, and he also talked for 3 days and 3 nights. Then, he continued to talk about the infinite way. Of course, the 4 paths of heaven and earth that everyone walks are different. Even if someone now uses the foundation of the 4 paths of heaven and earth described by Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang as the basis, and walks all the way, they will also walk on a fork in the future. Own way. Everything they said can only be used as a reference and an inspiration. What everyone, including Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, did not expect was that when Duan Lingtian was talking about the way of infinity, it was only the second day. A small movement abruptly interrupted Duan Lingtian. Boom! There was an explosion at the end of the sky, the clouds and mist dispersed, the space split, and a line of heavenly words appeared in front of everyone. Seeing these heavenly words, Duan Lingtian was surprised. Meng Han in the outer worlds? Isn't that the strongest man in the Thunder Saint realm Biyao Tianfu? It should also be the first Xian to enter the Tongtian Tower. He got the heavenly Dao talisman? And, did you sneak through the taboo realm? Duan Lingtian looked at Shizhu and Feng Qingyang, but saw that the other party was also looking at him, with a bit of surprise in his eyes. Xiao Tian, that Meng Han is really a good trick. As the existence of the 6th level of the most powerful, we are ushering in the taboo realm of catastrophe, and the 2 of you are not aware of it. It is really deep enough. Feng Qingyang said through voice transmission, at the beginning, when I was cultivating as a middle-level god, I faced the taboo realm and the catastrophe. The commotion was not small, and many people were shocked. I didn't expect that either. Duan Lingtian also said, at the beginning, I broke through the taboo realm heavenly tribulation with the cultivation base of a high-ranking god. After I succeeded in crossing the tribulation, fortunately I ran fast, otherwise it would be difficult to survive. Meng Han, the reason why he was able to usher in the taboo realm of catastrophe quietly and survive the catastrophe more smoothly is obviously because he deliberately found a place and covered it up by means of crossing the sea. Doing this can also prevent someone from making trouble. When Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were transmitting the sound, a group of the most powerful people in Nishan realm, including Xiao Mubai and other half-step world venerables, were also inexplicably horrified. In the land outside the boundary, there is actually someone who has survived the taboo realm? And this person is still a strong world venerable? According to the words of the land outside the boundary, he is a strong saint. I really didn't expect that the boundary venerable has survived the taboo realm's catastrophe. He got the heavenly Dao talisman from the Tongtian Tower so quickly. It is not difficult for those present to guess that the other party's ability to survive the taboo realm's catastrophe must have something to do with the heavenly Dao talisman rewarded by Tongtian Tower. Everyone is still surprised. And at this moment, another line of heavenly Dao text appeared in due course. This is a brand new line of heavenly Dao text, covering the previous line of heavenly Dao text. It also shocked the quartet. Chapter 4583. Breakthroughs so quickly. A group of strongest men from the god-defying realm stared at each other, all showing expressions of astonishment. After all, in their memories, whether it is Duan Lingtian or Feng Qingyang, they only stepped into the Xian 7th level after they passed through the taboo realm of heavenly tribulation for a period of time. Among them, Duan Lingtian took the longest time. Soon, someone looked at Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang and expressed their doubts. Feng Qingyang said, actually, this is quite normal. Then Meng Han is the existence of the 6th level of the strongest, and he is only one cultivation level away from the 7th level of the strongest. While he is going through the taboo realm, his cultivation will inevitably break through on his own, and he will break through in the blink of an eye. Things. As for me, I am a middle-level deity, and I have survived the taboo realm. As long as I break through to the upper deity realm, with my attainments in the law that I am good at, I will immediately welcome the call of the strongest realm, can directly become the strongest, and quickly step into the 7th level of the strongest. Although it is fast, it also takes a process. As for Shao Tian, when he passed through the heavenly tribulation of the Forbidden Realm, he was a high-ranking deity who had rejected the call of the Forbidden Realm before. As for why he refused, I think you all know very well. In this case, even if he survives the catastrophe of the taboo realm, he still needs to find his own way and seek the second call of the strongest realm. I think you all know how difficult this process is. So, among the 3 of us at the 7th level of the strongest, he has spent the longest time stepping into the 7th level of the strongest since he passed through the taboo realm. As Feng Qingyang's voice fell, everyone suddenly realized. What Feng Qingyang said, they took it out separately. In fact, they all knew it, but they didn't think much about it, so they had this doubt. Of course, the most important reason is that the powerhouse Meng Han from the outer worlds went from crossing the taboo realm to stepping into the 7th level of power in just a blink of an eye. I didn't expect that the 3rd Zeon, the 7th level existence, would appear so soon. Many of the most powerful people in the world against the gods frowned. This is not a good thing for them in the world against the gods. After all, before this, looking at all realms, even in places outside the realm, there are only 2 7th-level powerhouses who act against the god realm. And now, how long will the multi-entrance of Tongtian Tower be open? The 3rd Zeon, the 7th level, was born so soon. According to this speed, won't there be many Zeon 7th-order powerhouses soon? The way of heaven is really unfair, to give them such a shortcut. One by one, the most powerful people in the god-defying realm fought for Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian and the 2 were very calm. Because they have already figured it out. If in this world, after them, no existence of the 7th level of the strongest is born, how lonely and lonely would they be? Without competition, without spurs, on the road of cultivation, I am afraid that they will be like walking corpses alive. With the cultivation base of a saint, facing the taboo realm of catastrophe, even if there is a talisman of heaven that can block 3 catastrophes, it may not be so easy to overcome. The old man beside Xiao Mubai shook his head after hearing everyone's words. You guys think too simply. He continued to speak, and said with emotion, the Meng Han announced in the text of Tiandao, if I guess correctly, should be the same person as the Meng Han I know. This Meng Han is the peerless powerhouse of Biyao Tianfu, the holy land of mines outside the world, who was famous all over the world in the past. When he was young, in his era, he was also a well-known proud son of heaven in the land outside the world. Just because he can get through the taboo realm, doesn't mean that other people can get through it too. Obviously, he also knows Meng Han quite well. I heard that he was already dead when the last supreme tribulation came. But I didn't expect that he didn't die at all. He sighed. Hearing this, the faces of the disaffected people improved slightly. Everyone, let's continue. Duan Lingtian opened his mouth and continued to tell everyone about the infinite way. Although this way of infinity originated from the memory left by the old man Wukong, he has also studied it for a while now and has achieved something. When the attention of a group of strongest people in the Nishan realm returned to Duan Lingtian. Everywhere in Nishan realm, there are people fighting for Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. Everyone thinks, why should the way of heaven take care of other people? Isn't this bullying honest people? Meng Han's breakthrough not only shocked the Nishan realm, but also shocked other realms of the 10,000 realms. Especially the upper 3 realms. Now, although some people from the upper 3 realms have entered the Tongtian Tower, most of them have returned without success. For the time being, only 2 people have obtained the heavenly Dao talisman. One of them is Lei Hong, the world venerable powerhouse of the bright light realm. The other person is Fang Yifan, the world venerable powerhouse in the Ascension realm. Fang Yifan is also one of the world's most respected powerhouses, recognized as the strongest in the feathered world. Lei Hong, in the Mingguang realm, is also a super strong man standing at the top of the pyramid. However, although the two got the heavenly Tao talisman, they were not in a hurry to attract the taboo realm, because they were not ready enough. But now, through the words of the Tao of Heaven, they saw that the sage Meng Han from the outside world had actually broken through, and the two of them couldn't sit still for a while. That old boy Meng Han can survive the Forbidden Realm, how can I, Lei Hong, be worse than him? Lei Hong naturally knew Meng Han, he was from the same era as his master, and he had defeated his master in a duel. After he stepped into the 6th level of Xian and became Jesuan, he also wanted to challenge Meng Han and avenge his master. But he was told that the other party had gone on a trip and was not in Biyao Tianfu. He went there several times later, but never saw each other. Therefore, he felt that either the other party felt inferior to him and had no courage to fight him, or the other party might have died under the catastrophe that the most powerful man had to face once every 10,000 years, but Biyao Tianfu didn't make any noise. Until today, he didn't know that the other party was still alive and well. Moreover, like him, he got 3 heavenly Tao talismans from Tongtian Pagoda, and successfully broke the tribulation, stepping into the Xian 7th level. Became another top existence after Feng Qingyang and Duan Lingtian. This time, he shouldn't hide from me, right? However, the impulsiveness was impulsive, and at the critical moment, Lei Hong still calmed down, and at the same time planned to meet Meng Han again and ask him about it. Let's see if he can bear everything the other party is facing. The other side. Fang Yifan's mind was the same as Lei Hong's. Both of them spent many years and went through untold hardships to get to where they are today, so naturally they would not easily joke about their wealth and life. Go and learn from that senior Meng Han. With a single thought, Fang Yifan left the Ascension realm. Chapter 45-84. When Lei Hong and Fang Yifan were going to find Meng Han outside the boundary. A group of world venerables from all realms who hadn't entered the Tongtian Tower before all flocked towards the various entrances of the Tongtian Tower, wanting to see if they could successfully break through and get the heavenly Tao talisman. So far, the people who failed to come out of the Tongtian Tower were injured the most. No one died because they failed to break through the level. Moreover, if you fail to break through the level and are sent out of the Tongtian Tower, you can continue to make a comeback and enter the Tongtian Tower to break through the level. Only those who have obtained the Talisman of Heaven in the Tongtian Tower can no longer enter the Tongtian Tower. There is the existence of the 6th level Xian so soon, and it has successfully passed the taboo realm. If I didn't know that the heavenly Tao talisman can only recognize one owner, and when the person who gets it, it will automatically recognize the master, I wonder if someone borrowed the heavenly Tao talisman to Meng Han. Come on. Go. Try to win the heavenly Tao talisman, overcome the taboo realm, and become the 4th existence after the history is cut off to surpass the world venerable powerhouse. A group of world venerables from the 10,000 worlds had no more worries at this time, and rushed into the Tongtian Tower one after another, wanting to see how difficult the Qian related to the heavenly talisman in the Tongtian Tower was. Even if it was a group of Jesuan who failed to go through the Tongtian Tower and returned, if they were not injured, it would take a certain amount of time to recover to their heyday, and they must have rushed into the Tongtian Tower. Among them, there are also people who are as famous as Lei Hong and Fang Yifan. The reason why Lei Hong and Fang Yifan succeeded and they failed was not because they were weaker than the two, but because they were either unlucky or careless on some levels. The next time they enter the Tongtian Pagoda, they are more than 80% sure that they will be able to take down the heavenly Tao talisman. This moment. Not just myriad realms. At this moment, even the land outside the boundary is not peaceful. A group of saints who were still worried before rushed into the Tongtian Pagoda. Old Meng successfully crossed the tribulation so quickly, and broke through. The saint Zhao Ani of the Qingyun sacred sect was also stunned for a long time after seeing the words of the Way of Heaven, before he came back to his senses, and at the same time sent a message to congratulate Meng Han. Old Meng, congratulations. At this moment, Zhao Ani was filled with emotions. A month ago, he watched Meng Han enter the Tongtian Tower with his own eyes. He should be the first person to enter the Tongtian Tower after it was opened. After that, he didn't know if the other party came out. Unexpectedly, in just over a month, the other party not only came out, but also successfully obtained the Heavenly Tao Talisman, and passed through the taboo realm Heavenly Tribulation silently, stepping into the 7th level of Xian. Meng Han's efficiency, in his opinion, can be said to be off the mark. Soon, there was a response from Meng Han. Xiao Zhao, after I entered Tongtian Tower a month ago, you should have followed me in. There was a bit of emotion and pity in the tone. Back then, he ran into Zhao Ani there, and learned from him that he had no plans to enter Tongtian Tower for the time being. Moreover, now he is with Lei Hong from the myriad realms of Bright Light Realm, and Fang Yifan from the Feathering Realm, knowing that the two of them are following him, entering the Tongtian Tower 2nd and 3rd. I also learned something from the two of them. Old Meng, what do you mean? Zhao Enya's heart skipped a beat. Hearing the other party's tone, he faintly had an ominous premonition, as if he had lost something extremely important. Lei Hong from the Bright Light Realm, and Fang Yifan from the Feather Transformation Realm, just arrived at Biyao Tianfu to find me. Mr. Meng continued to send messages. I learned from them that Fang Yifan was the second person to enter the Tongtian Tower. In view of his courage, the Heavenly Tao reduced the difficulty of breaking through the level by 20%, so he successfully passed the level. Arrived at the Heavenly Tao Talisman. I asked him about the exact time he entered, more than a day later than me. Meng Lao said, the difficulty has been reduced by 20%. With your strength, Xiao Zhao, it shouldn't be difficult to take down the Heavenly Tao Talisman in the Tongtian Pagoda. Hearing this, Zhao Enya's complexion turned blue and pale for a while. He never expected that such an outrageous thing would happen. God, is it so humane? At this time, Meng Lao's message continued. The Lei Hong of the Bright Light Realm entered the Tongtian Tower an hour later than Yifan, and he was also the third to enter the Tongtian Tower. His difficulty of breaking through the level was reduced by 10%. So he also got the Heavenly Tao Talisman. And the third is welfare? At this time, Zhao Ani couldn't help thinking of Meng Han, the first person to enter the Tongtian Tower, and asked with a slightly trembling tone, Old Meng, you are the first person to enter Tongtian Tower, you should be taken care of by Heavenly Tao, right? The second person who enters the Tongtian Tower, the difficulty of breaking through the level is reduced by 20%. The third one, the difficulty is reduced by 10%. As the first one, is the difficulty reduced by 30%? If this is the case, if time can be turned back, he will definitely rush into the Tongtian Tower before Meng Han, and seize this benefit. That's right. Soon, Meng Han replied, confirming Zhao Enya's guess. However, as the first person to enter the Tongtian Tower, the care I get is more than that. In addition to reducing the difficulty by 30%, after I successfully broke through the level, in addition to the rewards that Tian Dao said earlier, the 3 Heavenly Tao Talismans, Tian Dao also gave me an extra Heavenly Tao Talisman. Hearing this, Zhao Ani felt that his heart was not only shaking, but also bleeding. Why? Why didn't he break into the Tongtian Tower before Meng Han? If he did that, all that Meng Han got would belong to him, Zhao Ani. Speaking of which, the reason why I was able to cross the taboo realm successfully this time is also inseparable from the 4th heavenly amulet. The 3 heavenly talismans are really not enough. If there are only 3 heavenly talismans, I'm only 10% sure that I will survive the Forbidden Realm. The 4th heavenly talisman is so crucial. It not only saved my life, but also helped me become the 3rd existence beyond the saint after the distance of history. What Meng Han said later was like pouring salt on Zhao Enya's wound. Old Meng, I have something else to do, so let's not talk about it for now. Zhao Ani replied to Meng Han and didn't continue to communicate with Meng Han, but he still regretted so much that he ran to a remote place and vented his anger vigorously. As far as the eye can see, everything was destroyed by him and razed to the ground. At the same time, Lei Hong and Fang Yifan also bid farewell to Meng Han, left Bibo Tianfu, and returned to Mingguang realm and Yuhua realm. At this moment, the faces of both of them were not very good-looking. They never expected that Meng Han got the fourth heavenly Dao talisman in Tongtian Tower. Chapter 4585. As the two who have already obtained the talisman of heaven, whether it is Lei Hong or Fang Yifan, they are very clear that the talisman of heaven has recognized the owner and can only be used by themselves, not for others. If you can't think about dispelling the heavenly Dao talisman and recognizing its owner, the heavenly Dao talisman will be turned into powder and disappear in smoke. On this point, the Way of Heaven is in Tongtian Pagoda. When they got the talisman of the Way of Heaven, they also showed the words of the Way of Heaven, reminding them and dispelling their idea of getting another 1 or 2 talismans of the Way of Heaven. In the face of the taboo realm of catastrophe, the more heavenly talismans, the better. Missing a tiny bit, the difference is 1,000 miles. They are still clear about this point. I went to Meng Han this time. I thought that after communicating with him, I would have confidence in surviving the taboo realm, but I didn't expect it to extinguish my previous confidence. After Fang Yifan returned to the feathering realm, his face was still extremely gloomy and his heart was very heavy. According to what Meng Han said, when he was facing the taboo realm, even if he had 4 heavenly talismans in his hand, he almost failed in the end. If there are only 3 heavenly talismans, it is basically impossible for me to successfully cross the tribulation. These are Meng Han's original words. It is also because of this that he realized how important the 4th heavenly Dao talisman is. It seems that we still need to make more preparations for the catastrophe of the taboo realm. Forget it, I'm not in a hurry right now, just wait and see. Fang Yifan made a decision. The other side. Lei Hong, who returned to the Mingguang realm, was also in a very bad mood. This trip to Bibo Tianfu was completely beyond his expectations. The original confidence has also weakened. Of course, he wasn't nearly desperate like Fang Yifan. He still planned to actively attract the taboo realm catastrophe after preparing for a period of time. However, this time we have to prepare more carefully. So what if there are only 3 heavenly talismans? I, Lei Hong, am not afraid. The 7th level of Xian, I, Lei Hong, will definitely step in. I, Lei Hong, will become the 4th strong man to step into the 7th level of the strongest after the history is cut off. Feng Qingyang, Duan Lingtian, Meng Han. Soon, I will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the 3 of you. Especially the breeze. At that time, I want to learn your methods carefully. As for Feng Qingyang's blocking him from entering the Tongtian Tower, he still remembers it in his heart. If one day, he also stepped into that realm, he would definitely ask Feng Qingyang for advice. The Outer Worlds. Thunder Saint Realm. Bibo Tianfu. Not long after sending Lei Hong and Fang Yifan away, some saints in Jizuan who came to congratulate them were welcomed. Of course, most of them came to inquire about news. They all want to explore the difficulty of the taboo realm heavenly tribulation through Meng Han's mouth, and hope that Meng Han can provide them with some experience, so that they can hope to pass through the taboo realm Tianjia in the future. These people are basically the ones who entered the Tongtian Tower but came out with nothing. Moreover, basically all were injured. If they hadn't been injured, most of them would have entered the Tongtian Tower again now to try to obtain the heavenly Dao talisman. Everyone, it's not a coincidence for you to come here. My uncle Meng Han left after sending away Jihong Lei Hong and Fang Yifan from the Mingguang realm and Fang Yifan from the Yuhua realm not long ago. Another sage in Bibo Tianfu personally entertained a group of visitors, and at the same time told them a news that disappointed them. However, when they opened the warehouse again to the other party, their eyes suddenly lit up. Everyone, my master uncle knows the purpose of your visit, and he just wants to ask him about the situation of the taboo realm. He has relayed the matter to me. If you want to hear it, I can tell you. Immediately afterwards, under everyone's expectant gaze and listening, the other party also told them all about Meng Han's failure as a secret. And when they understood all that, they were all dumbfounded. The first one to enter the Tongtian Pagoda, get the scroll of the Way of Heaven, and the difficulty of breaking through the level is reduced by 30%. After successfully breaking through the level, you will be given an extra talisman of the Way of Heaven? They were all shocked, and at the same time, their hearts were full of jealousy. Why weren't they the first to enter the Tongtian Tower? Master Meng Han entered the Tongtian Tower so quickly. Is it because the entrance of the Tongtian Tower appeared near your Biyao Tianfu? Someone asked. No. The saint of Biyao Tianfu shook his head. There is no entrance to the Tongtian Tower near our Biyao Tianfu. The reason why my master uncle was able to enter the Tongtian Tower first is because our Biyao Tianfu has an old relationship with that Duanling Tian. Before becoming the most powerful person, he was still a disciple of the guardian of our Golden Dragon Hall in Biyao Tianfu. This time, it was Xiao Tianxi, the master of our Golden Dragon Palace, who approached Lord Duanling Tian and asked him for help. He hoped that my uncle could walk through the main entrance of Tongtian Pagoda located in the Central Sea area. Master Feng Qingyang is the master of Lord Duanling Tian, and many of you must know it. Master Duanling Tian misses the old days, and greeted Master Feng Qingyang, and let my uncle walk through the main entrance of Tongtian Tower. Hearing this explanation, everyone felt helpless and even more jealous. Why? Why did your Biyao Tianfu have a good relationship with someone like Duanling Tian in advance? Just stepping on luck. Hateful. Everyone, you must have also heard that World Honor Lei Hong from the Bright Light Realm and Fang Yifan from the Yuhua Realm successfully broke through the Tongtian Pagoda and obtained the Heavenly Dao Talisman, right? The sage from Biyao Tianfu asked again. Well, I heard. Humph. That guy Lei Hong, he often brags to me about this. Among the crowd, many people nodded. And then, they learned, Lei Hong, as the third person to enter the Tongtian Tower, the difficulty of breaking through the level has been reduced by 10%, but there is no extra heavenly amulet reward. Fang Yifan, as the second person to enter the Tongtian Tower, the difficulty of breaking through the level has been reduced by 20%, and there is no extra heavenly talisman reward. That guy, Lei Hong, didn't tell me about this. I'm still proud of it. If the difficulty of my pass is also reduced by 10%, I will definitely succeed in passing the pass. The person who said this is also a world venerable in the Mingguang realm, and he is as famous as Lei Hong, and his seniority is higher than Lei Hong. If we really want to fight, Lei Hong is not in vain. Lei Hong and Fang Yifan, are they so lucky? If I had known that there was such a reward, would have fought for the second one to enter the Tongtian Tower even if I was desperate. A group of world venerables and saints are now not only jealous, but more regretful. Everyone, looking at the world, and even the land outside the world, the person who regrets the most is probably not you. Seeing all the people coming from afar, all of them losing their composure, the saint of Biyao Tianfu couldn't help but start to comfort them. I heard from my uncle that there is a person who is not much weaker than him, and he arrived at the main entrance of the Tongtian Tower with him. Chapter 4586. That one is also very familiar with Lord Duanling Tian. At that time, Lord Duanling Tian even said bluntly that if he wanted to enter Tongtian Tower, he could also enter from there. Master Feng Qingyang has no objection either. If he had gone in at that time, the first person to enter the Tongtian Tower might not have been my uncle. Even if he didn't get the first place, he could still get the second place. Because Fang Yifan, the second person to enter the Tongtian Pagoda, entered the Tongtian Pagoda a day after my master uncle entered the Tongtian Pagoda. Hearing this, everyone's attention was indeed attracted. That unlucky ghost didn't grasp such a good opportunity. Who is that person? Yeah, talking about it makes everyone happy, at the same time. After venting near Qingyun's sacred sect, Zhao Ani, who finally calmed down, took a deep breath again, and then returned to Qingyun's sacred sect. After a few more days of calming down, he entered Tongtian Tower to break through and try to get the Amulet of Heaven. However, just after returning, he received a message from his nephew Guolin. "Uncle, I have already captured Tuoba Liansheng, and now I am on my way back to the sect. The mission Master Duan Lingtian entrusted to us has been completed. In this way, after 1.5 months, Lord Duan Lingtian will come to our Bibo Tianfu, and we will be able to explain to him properly." Guolin's tone was somewhat relaxed. "You know, during this period of time, in order to find Tuoba Liansheng, he spent a lot of effort, and after several twists and turns, he finally found him. It took over a month." "Good." Zhao Ani replied helplessly, with a rather tired tone. "Lord Duan Lingtian? This little brat, it's really a pot that doesn't open and a pot to lift." He finally calmed down, and because the other party mentioned these 5 words, he was completely unwell. He still remembers that Lord Duan Lingtian said bluntly that he could enter Tongtian Tower through the main entrance of Tongtian Tower, but he refused. If he didn't refuse at that time, he would be the second person to enter Tongtian Tower. At this time, the 3 heavenly Dao talismans have already arrived. Sorry. Now, although he has already planned to enter the Tongtian Tower to win the heavenly Dao talisman, he really doesn't have much confidence in his heart, and he just wants to learn more and get acquainted with it first. Because, he has also heard that many existences that are not weaker than him, and may even be slightly better than him, have not been able to successfully bring out the heavenly Dao talisman from the Tongtian Tower. No. It's over and I'm going to calm down. There is no medicine for regret in the world. Forget about these troubles, forget about these. Under the self-paralysis, Zhao Ani finally calmed down again. However, not long after he calmed down this time, he received multiple summons again. He would not have been able to receive these messages before the Tiandao characters at the entrance of the new Tongtian Pagoda appeared, because they were all old friends outside the Qingyun sacred sect's territory. The last time the text of Tiandao appeared, I learned that Tongtian Tower had added multiple entrances. In order to share information, all parties have withdrawn the formation of isolating communication. When Zhao Ani opened these messages, his already calm face suddenly turned green. "Old Zhao, I heard that you obviously had the opportunity to enter the Tongtian Tower for the first time, but you didn't go in and gave the opportunity to Meng Lao. You still respect the elders as always. Xiao Zhao, you have a good layout, and you actually gave Meng Lao the first chance to enter the Tongtian Tower, and he didn't follow behind. Why can't you discuss with that Lord Duan Lingtian and give me your chance? Then, I can completely replace Fang Yifan and become the second person to enter the Tongtian Tower." "Zhao Ani, you old boy, did you fail this time? You don't cherish such a good opportunity." Haha. I laughed so hard. "You said that if you were the first to enter the Tongtian Tower before that old guy Meng Han, you would be the first to enter Tongtian Tower. Aren't you the 3 Xian 7th levels?" Seeing these summonses, Zhao Enya's old face glowed green. There is even more dissatisfaction in his eyes. This matter, few people know. At that time, only Meng Han, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were the only ones who knew about it. He can be sure that it is absolutely impossible for Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang to spread the news. If so, it must be from Meng Han. "Old Meng, you are not kind. Even if I didn't seize the opportunity at the time, you shouldn't have spread the matter to everyone. How will you let me meet people in the future?" Now Zhao Ani wished to give Meng Han a few big mouths, but thinking that Meng Han was already beyond the existence of a saint, even though he was furious, he could only suppress his temper. However, after the interrogation, there was no response for a long time. Out of bounds? Or did Bibo Tianfu cut off the summons again? Thinking of this, Zhao Ani sent an order, and the Qingyun sacred sect also activated the formation of isolating the summons, and no longer let the outside summons come in. And before the formation was activated, he received many summons one after another, all of them came to make fun of him. Although most people didn't mean anything malicious, he was still very upset when he heard it. Knowing that the barriers of the formation were raised, he was purified. When I take that step in the future, I must ask that old fellow Meng Han for advice. Zhao Enya's eyes showed fierceness, and he said fiercely. Myriad worlds. Against God realm. The land left by the gods. Xiao Mubai, who was listening to Duan Lingshan's talk about the infinite way, suddenly received a summons. Then, without disturbing anyone else, he quietly retreated. After retreating, he still looked at Duan Lingtian reluctantly. After leaving the land of the gods, Xiao Mubai met an uninvited guest outside the gate of the Nishan realm. Before that, the other party had already revealed his identity to the most powerful person in the Nishan realm who was guarding the gate. Master Meng Han, this is our lord of the god-defying realm, Xiao Mubai. The person guarding the gate introduced to the other party. Xiao Mubai, I have met Master Meng Han. Before the other party could speak, Xiao Mubai had already bowed first, and at the same time, he was full of doubts. How could this guy who had just broken through come to them against the god realm? Could it be that they came to discuss with those two? Haha. You don't need to be polite, Lord Xiao. I came here this time to thank Brother Duan Lingtian and Brother Feng Qingyang. Meng Han laughed and said that after stepping into the 7th level of Xian, his self-confidence returned, and the address for Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian also changed from adult to brother. But I don't know, are they in the god-defying realm now? If they are, please ask Realm Master Xiao to take me to see them. Meng Han said again. Xiao Mubai stepped through the door, sent a message, and after getting a response from Duan Lingtian and the other two, he brought Meng Han into the god-defying realm. Chapter 4587. When Meng Han followed Xiao Mubai, he was still preaching to a group of powerful people from the God against God realm. This is. Meng Han froze for a moment. He could naturally hear that Duan Lingtian was now talking about the infinite way of the 4 ways of heaven and earth. He is too familiar with this infinite way. Because, he is walking the infinite way. This time, he let the infinite way that had been suppressed for a long time go a step further, and stepped into the 7th level, which led to the taboo realm of heavenly tribulation, thus successfully crossing the tribulation, and successfully stepped into the 7th level of the strongest. My Lord Duan Lingtian is starting a class to preach for our strongest fighters in the god-defying realm. Xiao Mubai suppressed his voice, smiled and said to Meng Han, Master Duan Lingtian just sent a message to mean his sermon will take more than a day to finish. Let me arrange a place for you to stay, wait for him after the sermon. I will visit you with Master Feng Qingyang. Master Feng Qingyang, I also want to hear Lord Duan Lingtian continue to preach. As Xiao Mubai said, he glanced at Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. And the two of them also looked at Meng Han beside him for the first time, nodded to Meng Han, and then withdrew their eyes and attention. It's okay, I'll just listen to Brother Duan Lingshan's sermon here. Meng Han smiled and said doubtfully, I remember, I heard someone said. Brother Duan Lingtian is good at the 4 ways of heaven and earth. It seems to be the way of swords. He now suspected that he had heard wrong. Although he had just listened to Duan Lingshan's preaching not long ago, Duan Lingshan's content on the infinite Tao at this time shocked him extremely, making him feel that the other party's attainments in the infinite Tao were not inferior to him. It is indeed the way of the sword. Xiao Mubai nodded. It's just that I didn't expect Mr. Duan Lingtian to have such deep attainments in the way of infinity. As for Duan Lingshan's previous talk about the way of control, he didn't take the initiative to bring it up. He felt that the other party was not someone from their god realm, so there was no need to expose Duan Lingshan's details too much. What? Hearing Xiao Mubai's reply, Meng Han realized that he hadn't misheard earlier. Duan Lingtian is indeed good at swordsmanship, which shocked him extremely. An existence that has taken that step in the way of the sword, and its attainments in the way of infinity, is it so terrifying, evildoer? When Meng Han looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes were filled with indescribable horror. At the same time, when he continued to listen, he found that many of what Duan Lingtian said were even helpful to him, and he gradually became fascinated by listening. More than a day passed in a blink of an eye. When Duan Lingtian stopped preaching and opened his mouth to announce the end of the sermon, the group of strongest people in the god-defying realm still had something to say, but they did not forget to thank Duan Lingtian. Thank you Duan Lingtian for preaching for us. Thank you, Lord Duan Lingtian and Lord Feng Qingyang. After Duan Lingshan's sermon ended, none of the group of people left. Only some of them left when Duan Lingtian, Feng Qingyang and the unfamiliar old man left hand in hand. Someone also stared at the old man's back, frowned for a moment, and then exclaimed, I recognize him. He is Meng Han. A saint and strong man from Biyao Tianfu, the sacred land of mines outside the boundary. He is also the third Xian announced in the text of Tiandao yesterday. The seventh level exists. As soon as these words came out, some people who were about to leave immediately stopped in their tracks. A group of people looked at Xiao Mubai one after another. The person was brought by Xiao Mubai, and many people have seen it. It's Master Meng Han. He's here to find Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. Xiao Mubai said repeatedly. Master Meng Han was able to come to find the two adults on the day of the breakthrough, which shows that he has a deep friendship with the two adults. This is a very good thing for us in the Nishan realm. The other half-holy world lord laughed. As soon as these words came out, many people's eyes lit up. Yes. This is a good thing. The other side. After Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang left with Meng Han, he entered the space that Feng Qingyang arranged in the god's remains, and it was also a small part of the small world in his body that he cut. He left this space to be with the land of the gods. If something happened to the land of the gods in the future, not only his disciple Duan Lingtian would be able to come back as soon as possible, but he would also be able to come back as soon as possible. Feng Qingyang arranged the independent space he left in the land of the gods like a paradise, and there is a small tree of life growing in the middle. There are mountains and water inside, the air is fresh, the birds are singing and the fragrance of flowers is beautiful. In the gazebo in front of a waterfall, beside the tea table, Duan Lingtian and Meng Han sat down one after another under the greeting of Feng Qingyang. Old Meng, you came to see us, isn't it just to show off that you have stepped into the seventh step? While Feng Qingyang was making tea, Duan Lingtian looked at Meng Han and asked with a teasing smile. Meng Han entered the Tongtian Tower that day, and he watched it with his own eyes. At that time, he was still thinking about whether this person could get the Heavenly Dao Talisman from the Tongtian Tower, and whether he could use the Heavenly Dao Talisman to survive the taboo realm. Unexpectedly, in just over a month, the other party successfully passed through the taboo realm. The Heavenly Dao Talisman was obviously taken by him. Of course not. Meng Han smiled and shook his head, then straightened his face and said, I'm here to thank you. At the same time, I also want to make a statement in front of you. From now on, I owe each of you a favor. In the future, whatever you ask for, I will never refuse if I do my best. Meng Han spoke very seriously. At the same time, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were deeply surprised. They looked at each other, and they didn't expect the other party to come out like this. Even, I feel that the other party's statement is a bit too exaggerated. You know, the opponent is now the existence of the 7th level Xian. The two communicated through sound transmission for a while, but they couldn't figure out why the other party would make such a promise in front of them. In the end, I decided to ask myself. Old Meng, we didn't seem to help you with anything, did we? Even if we don't let you enter Tongtian Tower through the main entrance, you can find another entrance to enter by yourself. Duan Lingtian said. No, I succeeded this time because you let me enter from the main entrance of Tongtian Tower. Then, Meng Han recounted his experience to Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, and finally sighed. Without the 4th heavenly amulet, the probability of my success in crossing the tribulation is probably less than 10%. Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were also stunned. They never expected that their random decision would give Meng Han such an opportunity. The first person to enter the Tongtian Tower has such a reward? It's outrageous. The difficulty has been reduced by 30%. Aren't those 3 heavenly talismans equivalent to gifts? The most outrageous thing is, after successfully breaking through the level, can you still get an extra heavenly Tao talisman? Chapter 4588. The first person to enter the Tongtian Pagoda has such benefits. I guess the second person will also have a good reward, right? Feng Qingyang glanced at Duan Lingtian and guessed. At this time, Duan Lingtian thought of someone, and his face became a little weird. It was the Zhao Ani of the Qingyun sect. At that time, Zhao Ani came to the Tongtian Tower with Meng Han, and he told Zhao Ani that he could also enter the Tongtian Tower through the main entrance, but the other party didn't plan to go in for the time being. The second person who enters the Tongtian Tower will indeed be rewarded. Hearing Feng Qingyang's words, Meng Han told him that Fang Yifan and Lei Hong from the upper three realms had approached him. They are the second and third people to enter the Tongtian Tower. Fang Yifan was the second to enter, and the benefits he got were, the difficulty of breaking through the level was reduced by 20%, but after he succeeded, there was no heavenly Tao talisman as a reward. Lei Hong is the third to go in, and the difficulty of breaking through the level is reduced by 10%, and there is no reward for the amulet of heaven. Speaking of this, he paused for a moment, and then said, according to the welfare trends of the three of us, the fourth person who enters Tongtian Tower should not have these benefits. Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were stunned when they heard the words. Besides, in fact, the level of Tongtian Tower is not easy to pass. I have communicated with Lei Hong. Even for him, it is very difficult to pass the level. Fang Yifan is a little easier, after all, the difficulty is 10% lower than Lei Hong's. At this time, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang also learned from Meng Han that so far as Meng Han knew, only Lei Hong and Fang Yifan had obtained the heavenly Tao amulet. They are all from the upper three realms. As for the saints in the land outside the realm, before he came to Nishan realm, he hadn't heard of anyone who had obtained the amulet of heaven. Anyway, I still want to congratulate you, Mr. Meng. Duan Lingtian raised his teacup, replaced wine with tea, and toasted Mr. Meng. From now on, Mr. Meng, you will be the number one person outside the world. Hearing this, Meng Han also raised his teacup, laughed and said humbly, it's just a temporary first person. I know myself, and if I look beyond my horizon, there are still a dozen or so people whose strength is not weaker than mine. When some of them break through, I'm not sure I can defeat them. After some chatting, Meng Han revealed his second reason for coming here. I just broke through, and I felt a sense of loneliness. I just felt that I could be called invincible if I looked outside the world. Thinking of you two makes my hands itch. Here, in addition to promising that you two will each have a favor, I also want to discuss with the two of you. What do you two think? Between Meng Han's words, his eyes were bright. Oh. Duan Lingtian was a little surprised. Old Meng is so confident in his own strength? Want to challenge the two of us at once, 1 against 2? Puff dash. Duan Lingtian was so frightened that the tea that Meng Han had just swallowed was sprayed out by him. Fortunately, Feng Qingyang shot in time and annihilated all the tea that Meng Han blurted out in the air, so that it did not spray on him and Duan Lingtian. You boy, when did the old man say that one is going to fight too? What I mean is, I will have a separate game with you. Meng Han said unhappily, he thought this kid did it on purpose. What a joke. Although he has also made a breakthrough, and he is confident that his strength is not weaker than any of Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, but if he encounters two people joining forces, he will definitely be looking for abuse. He's not so fluffy yet. I see. Duan Lingtian was stunned, and then looked at Feng Qingyang. Master, did you make the move against Mr. Meng, or did I do it? Let me do it. Feng Qingyang stood up, and looked at Meng Han with a smile. Old Meng, my disciple has long been better than Blue. If you can't beat me, you don't have to waste time competing with him. Hearing this, Meng Han Tong shrank slightly, and then thought of Duan Lingshan's profound attainments in the way of infinity. Therefore, he believed Feng Qingyang's words. Even so, I still want to compete with him. Even if I lose, I still want to see the gap between me and him. Meng Han said. You know, Meng Han hasn't fought against anyone for many years. For nearly 10,000 years, he was either recuperating from his injuries or making various preparations for the coming of the 10,000 years calamity. This time, he survived the taboo realm and stepped into the 7th level of Xian. He is confident that he will easily survive the next 10,000 years of catastrophe. What's more, it's not a big problem to live for tens of thousands of years, or even 100,000 years. Old Meng, please. Feng Qingyang stood up first, mainly because he was worried that after his disciple had competed with the opponent would not have the energy to compete with him, or that his poor state would make him invincible. In fact, Feng Qingyang is also happy with Meng Han, who is newly promoted to the 7th rank of Xian. Mainly to compete with his disciple Duan Lingtian, it was too helpless. Completely crushed and beaten. His disciple, in addition to swordsmanship, is also good at the way of control and the way of infinity, and the power of different laws, because the power in the body can only be combined with the restriction of one kind of law power, and there is no way to use it at the same time, but the 4 ways of heaven and earth are possible. Moreover, if they all use the avatar of the law, the strength of his disciple will be even more terrifying. In addition to exerting the power of different laws, each law avatar can also perform the way of swordsmanship, the way of control, and the way of infinity. How can this be played? Next, Duan Lingtian looked lively. Because this is the small world in his master's body, the two of them went outside to compete, and especially found a broken realm, so that they could completely let go of their hands and feet to fight. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering bang, Meng Han took the lead, like turning into a ferocious beast, rushing towards the place where Feng Qingyang was. Wherever he passed, the sound of thunder came and went, and even bursts of thunder and lightning swept up from him, turning into a huge beam of thunder and lightning, as if to pierce the sky. On the other hand, Feng Qingyang, facing the menacing Meng Han, held a sword glow in his hand, and the sword glow soared into the sky, shaking the world, with menacing momentum. Stop! There was an ear-piercing howl of the sword, and the wind lightly raised the people to follow the movement of the sword, and also went up to meet it. In an instant, the two had their first confrontation. Boom! The loud noise was deafening, and in the place where the two fought, hideous space cracks appeared one after another, as if the surrounding space was torn apart. The cracks and black holes in the surrounding space were shaken open before they could heal. In the blink of an eye, the two fought for hundreds of rounds. I'm going to use the power of my blood. Meng Han yelled loudly, reminded him, and at the same time, his body was full of blood, and he had unleashed the special method of the aborigines of the outside world, the secret skill of blood. Of course, as a person of all worlds, Feng Qingyang also has a clone of laws to rely on. Chapter 4589. Meng Han mobilized the power of his blood, the secret technique appeared, and a monstrous blood shadow swept up from his body, and then it was as short-lived as a flash in the pan. At the same time, his real deity also turned into a huge monster like a blood shadow that had just flashed in the pan, a towering giant, covered in blood, and mixed with biting cold air. That's right. The law that Meng Han is good at is the extended branch of the 5 elements law, the ice element law. At this time, Meng Han seemed to have turned into an ice giant, with his big hands roaring out, like dark clouds pressing down on the city, enveloping towards the wind. At this time, the wind was light, and in front of Meng Han's big hand, it was not as big as Meng Han's little finger. This slap gave people a feeling of slapping insects. Wow! Crash! At this moment, when Meng Han made a move, not only did he have a domineering momentum, but the temperature of the surrounding air also dropped suddenly, bursts of frightening cold permeated the surroundings, and even the black holes and cracks in the space seemed to slow down the shrinking trend. Seeing that this palm was about to fall on Feng Qingyang's body. But Feng Qingyang disappeared in place out of thin air, as if using the teleportation method of the law of space. However, just relying on Meng Han's shot just now, even someone who is good at the law of space, it is absolutely impossible to use the teleportation method in the oscillating surrounding space. Therefore, Feng Qingyang did not really perform teleportation. Instead, he used the deceleration and short-term static means of the law of time, which made de Menghan's shot a lot slower in his world, and he also took the opportunity to dodge and leave. With his method of time law, not only Meng Han was greatly affected, even Duan Lingtian, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, was also greatly affected without extending his spiritual consciousness. The law of time? After the first blow failed, Meng Han quickly retreated, using retreat as an advance, and opened the distance, because a faint chill rose in his heart, and he felt that Feng Qingyang, who disappeared in place next, must have a back move. Stop. Sure enough, at the moment when Meng Han retreated decisively, a sword light seemed to cross the space, ignoring the moment, passing through the space where he was just now. In an instant, that piece of space is like a huge curtain, with sharp weapons pierced from top to bottom, and the terrifying murderous intent contained in it can be clearly perceived from a long distance. If he hadn't dodged just now, although he wouldn't have been split in two, he would definitely have been injured. Next, I won't hold back any more. Feng Qingyang opened his mouth calmly, and then the clones of the laws appeared one by one. Although the attainments of other laws are far inferior to the law of time, they can all display the 7th level swordsmanship. Even if Meng Han used the infinite way to fuse himself with the blood's secret technique to turn him into a giant, but under the cooperation of Feng Qingyang himself and the clone of the law, he often fell into a disadvantage. He has the ability to withdraw from the battle, and even if this is a life and death battle, he is sure to escape. However, if he continues to stand, he will gradually lose, and may even be killed. Am not your match. Finally, Meng Han sighed and withdrew from the battle. At the same time, his face was disappointed, and his eyes were somewhat dazed and confused, unwilling to accept the result in front of him. A few years ago, a little guy who was only a mid-level god, had just appeared in front of the world because he had passed through the taboo realm and was announced by the Tao of Heaven. After quickly stepping into the strongest realm, straight to the 7th level of the strongest, in his opinion, the opponent must be unstable. If he fights with him, even if he doesn't defeat me, he will definitely be able to suppress the opponent. Unexpectedly, the ending was just the opposite. This wind is light and has rich combat experience. He is not weaker than him who has lived for hundreds of thousands of years. The law of time has suppressed his ice law, showing the strength of the 4 supreme laws. His bloodline's secret technique, the opponent also has a clone of the law, although the strength is not as good as the deity, but it should not be underestimated, at least with his current strength, he does not feel ignored. Concession. Seeing Meng Han admitting defeat, Feng Qingyang also stopped, smiled calmly, and nodded to Meng Han. At this moment, he felt his self-confidence returned. Although he didn't mind being defeated by his disciple Duan Lingtian before, his self-confidence was still a little hit, but now that he has suppressed Meng Han and Meng Han conceded, he feels that all the lost self-confidence has returned. Now, I feel that even if a 7th level powerhouse is born in myriad worlds and outer worlds, besides his disciple Duan Lingtian, he is worthy of everyone else. Brother Feng Qingyang, you are worthy of Brother Duan Lingshan's method, your strength is admirable. Meng Han looked at Feng Qingyang, sighed, and then looked at Duan Lingtian. Although, I believe that your strength is better than your master, but I still want to see your methods and the gap between you and me. Wait for me to recover for a while, after I recover, you can compete with me. Don't hold back, just shoot with all your strength and see how long I can last. Now, Duan Lingtian is undoubtedly a more terrifying figure in his eyes. Not only has he entered the 7th level of swordsmanship, but even his attainment in the way of infinity is estimated to be above the 7th level, or at least the 6th level. With the combination of 2 ways, coupled with the laws that Duan Lingtian is good at, he doesn't think he can compete with Duan Lingtian. And the truth, too. Next, after he recovered and had a discussion with Duan Lingtian, he just sighed a long sigh, left a farewell, and left in a daze. He didn't expect it to end like this. Is this Duan Lingtian still human? Xiao Tian, you are not giving him face too much, right? After all, you are also a member of Bibo Tianfu, and you still have the identity of Bibo Tianfu's disciple? Looking at Meng Han's lonely back, Feng Qingyang's eyes were full of sympathy. Then he shook his head and said to his disciple with a wry smile. Duan Lingtian touched his nose in embarrassment when he heard the words, and smiled awkwardly. Didn't Mr. Meng tell me not to hold back, but to attack with all my strength? He really didn't think about it that much. I really didn't expect that the last time you fought against me, you still kept your hand. Feng Yang sighed lightly, then sat down cross-legged in the air, closed his eyes, and in a blink of an eye, a faint sword glow whizzed out from his body, spinning around him. Fast and slow. Sometimes moving and sometimes still. However, Feng Qingyang was also hit, and began to learn the way of swordsmanship, and wanted to continue to take the next step, so that he might have the capital to compete with his disciple Duan Lingtian. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian smiled awkwardly, and then left too. When Meng Han left just now, his master opened the passage, but he didn't need it, because his master gave him enough authority to freely enter and exit this independent space. Kier should be ready soon, right? These days, Duan Lingtian also often observes Ku'er, who is recuperating in the small world inside his body, and he can notice that Ku'er's condition has been improving, and the day of waking up is getting closer. Do not know either. Who will be the next to step into the 7th level of Xian? Duan Lingtian was quite curious about this. After Meng Han's narration of the numerous checkpoints in the Tongtian Tower, Duan Lingtian also realized that all the places outside the world, and even the strongest saints and Jesuan in the 10,000 realms, have prepared and adapted, and finally want to pass the level. As for the heavenly Tao talisman, basically there is no problem. It is estimated that there are at least half of the people who can survive the catastrophe of the taboo realm. Chapter 4590. Now, Duan Lingtian even faintly expects that there will be more Xian 7th level existences in this world, so that he will not be lonely, and he does not need to feel the loneliness of being so high. Of course, at the same time, he was also quite curious about the illusory day of heaven, and didn't know what kind of plan the other party was doing. In the past, the 7th level of Xian did not appear, and the way of heaven never appeared. It wasn't until he passed the taboo realm of heavenly calamity that heavenly Tao appeared and announced to the world in the words of heavenly Tao, telling all life in the world that Duan Lingtian had passed the taboo realm of heavenly calamity. And before that, neither he nor a group of old antiques in the Nishan realm had ever heard that the Tao of heaven would appear again, or even intervene in the world. Of course, instead of directly intervening, it can only be regarded as indirect intervening. When there was no Xian 7th level before, I didn't see the heavenly Tao descending the Tian Tian Tower and sending out the heavenly Tao talisman. Knowing that Master and I have stepped into the 7th level of the strongest, Tian Tao did this. Is this really targeting us? According to the memory of the old man Wukong, Tian Tao can't directly attack people. If it is to target us, it is understandable for Tian Tao to do so. If it's not aimed at us, it is that Tian Tao set up a rule early on: as long as someone steps into the 7th level of the strongest, they will lower the Tong Tian Tower. And, after 2 people stepped in? What a coincidence. Combining the 2 guesses, Duan Lingtian still prefers the former, the way of heaven. It was to target him and his master that he lowered the Tong Tian pagoda. No matter what the situation is, I, Duan Lingtian, have no fear. There is always a solution to a problem. In Duan Lingshan's eyes, there was a sharp light. In the past, when he was still in his infancy, he dared to fight and kill, without fear of the strong, overcame thorns and thorns all the way, after going through life and death, to achieve today's achievements. Naturally he would not be overwhelmed by the difficulties in front of him. Before, he had no strength and didn't fall down. Now, he has the strength to look down on the world, and he is even more fearless. Moreover, I have the memory of the old man Wukong, so I can inherit everything from him in the shortest possible time, catch up with his past steps, and step into the Xian 9th rank. Even, maybe you can go a step further, and step into the realm guest in the memory of the old man Wukong, which can stand shoulder to shoulder with the way of heaven. Duan Lingtian is full of curiosity about the realm that Wukong old man conceived and guessed, but at the same time he is quite yearning. What kind of realm is it that can be said to be comparable to the way of heaven? Of course, this might just be the old man's guess. However, he still looks forward to it and wants to give it a try. The Outer Worlds. Qingyun Holy Sect. Guolin, since you're back, the Zongman's side will be left to you as usual. Zhao Ani looked at Guolin, who had just brought Tuobo Lianqing back, and said solemnly, "In a while, Master Duan Lingtian will be here. If I haven't come out of Tongtian Tower by then, you should greet him well, and hand over Tuobo Lianqing and Han Jiang to him." After Guolin solemnly responded, Zhao Ani left and went to the nearest Tongtian Tower entrance. He really couldn't bear it anymore. He planned to enter the Tongtian Tower later, but thinking that he had missed the benefits given by the heavenly Tao in the Tongtian Tower, he wanted to vomit blood every time he thought about it. Almost bewildered. It's better to take a trip to the Tongtian Tower. Even if you can't get the Talisman of Heaven, you can accumulate some experience, and after fighting for it, you can go in and get the Talisman of Heaven. At that time, he, Zhao Ani, may not be able to step into the 7th level of the strongest like Meng Han of Bibo Tianfu. Previously, Zhao Ani had heard from those who entered Tongtian Tower that some people only stayed for half a month after entering Tongtian Tower and leaving Tongtian Tower, while others stayed for more than a month. However, Lei Hong and Gui Yifan, who got the Talisman of Heaven, did not stay in it for more than a month. This shows that if you don't stay in it for a long time, you have a greater chance of getting the heavenly Tao Talisman. It still depends on strength and efficiency. When the efficiency increases, the consumption will definitely be less, and it will naturally be able to cope with the subsequent levels better. If it is not efficient enough, the strength in the body will be almost exhausted, and it will naturally be even more difficult to face the next level. This is common sense. When Zhao Ani entered Tongtian Tower this time, he planned to stay there for more than a month, but he didn't expect to come out in just 21 days. Puff dash. Zhao Ani, who opened his mouth to spit out a big mouthful of blood, turned pale for a while, and his eyes showed a look of concern. The next level is really scary. If I were in my heyday, I could easily pass by. However, at that time, I couldn't retain so much strength at all. Zhao Ani sighed softly, and reviewed it in his mind, feeling that he had done useless work in many levels, and had wasted a lot of energy for nothing. If I go in next time, I will definitely be more efficient and even save more effort. After the injury recovers, it is not impossible to pass all the checkpoints in the Tongtian Tower if you enter a few more times. Under normal circumstances, the best choice for Zhao Ani, who was injured outside, is to recuperate where he was injured, and leave only after his injuries improve to avoid being attacked. He has many friends and many enemies in the outside world. Although his enemies didn't know that he had entered the Tongtian Tower, they had to guard against it. Not long after sending out a summons, Zhao Ani saw Guolin rushing over, and then returned to Qingyun's sacred sect under Guolin's escort. "Uncle, are you hurt so badly?" On the way, Guolin hadn't noticed anything because Zhao Enya's spiritual sense was hindering him, but when he returned to Qingyun's sacred sect, after Zhao Ani put away his spiritual sense and let Guolin observe, Guolin couldn't help but gasp in shock. Air conditioning. No way, the first time I went in, I have no experience. Zhao Ani said helplessly, and then told Guolin about his experience inside, although in the future when you enter the Tongtian Tower, the barriers you encounter may not be the same as what I encountered. However, you can still listen to some experience in advance, so that you can avoid detours when you go in later. Hearing this, Guolin hastily listened carefully, not daring to slack off in the slightest. Half a day later, Zhao Ani had almost finished speaking, and went back to the training ground to retreat and recuperate. The period of March is here in the blink of an eye. Time flies. Duan Lingtian left the god-defying realm, went to a place outside the realm, and went directly to the Qingyun's sacred sect of the Thunder Sacred Realm. After Guolin learned about it, he went out to greet him personally. "Welcome Lord Duan Lingtian." Duan Lingtian nodded to Guolin, then glanced behind him, and found that no one was coming, so he couldn't help asking, "Where's old Zhao?" You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.